more we can do. Want to discharge you? Go back to your country. The children felt bad, took their father home, but in the process, one of them said, "We are in Nigeria. We have a medical microbiologist in the person of Professor Agbonlahor, who is from Benin. We cannot just allow Papa to be wasting like this." And they did approach Professor Agbonlahor. He asked Epa to come to his clinic. He was examined. Professor Agbonlahor, using his word, he was a bit apprehensive. What they could not do in India, how is he going to do it in his research clinic in Benin City? But as usual, he's a man of courage, a man of intelligence. He said he would try. He did diagnose and find out that Epa had infection of Citrobacter fructi that was resistant truly to all available antibiotics that were on the essential drug list or the WHO list that was available internationally. But he went into reading at that time, and I find that if he should try, he was not very sure if it will work. Let him use a carbapenem in combination with colistin on Epa. Expensive as it was, the children were willing to. But to God be the glory, Papa recovered. Not many people will have that privilege. Not many people. And the rate of antimicrobial resistance, I want to tell you, is on a high increase presently in the country, which should be a source of concern to everybody. So that takes us to our introduction. For decades, microbes, in particular bacteria, have become increasingly resistant to various antimicrobials. The World Health Organization in 2014 recognized antimicrobial resistance as a global health security threat that requires action across government sectors and society as a whole. It is now a global problem. In 2016, the Review on Antimicrobial Resistance published a study report that 10 million deaths could occur annually by the year 2050. And we are almost there. In 2019, over 1 million deaths were associated with antimicrobial resistance, of which 250,000 were from Africa. Similarly, that same year, 2019, it was estimated that multi-drug resistance directly caused 1.27 million deaths globally. The World Health Assembly endorsement of the Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance in 2015 and the political declaration of the high-level meeting of the General Assembly on multi-drug resistance in 2017 both recognize multi-drug resistance as a global threat and of public health concern. It has been known that poor awareness, I believe that's why we are having this lecture, lack of national surveillance systems, which many of our hospitals are not doing, to monitor antimicrobial resistance, poor regulation of antimicrobials, which we all know we are all victims, abusing, misusing antimicrobials, and suboptimal health system responses to outbreaks of antimicrobial pathogens are among the major challenges to combating this problem, especially in low and middle income countries like Nigeria, leading to marked morbidity and mortality. Overuse, misuse of antimicrobials are the main drivers for development of resistance. Thus, the need to optimize the use of antimicrobials at all levels. When we talk of antimicrobials, we are talking of those drugs that can combat microorganisms. For the bacteria, we're talking of antibiotics, antiviral, antiparasitic, and antifungal for fungal infection. And I want to say that all groups of microorganisms are experiencing drug resistance, not just the bacteria alone. But we are going to concentrate more on bacteria and a little into antifungal. For parasitic, we know what malaria is dealing with us now. From time to time, anti-malaria drug keep failing us. To the extent now that many people now depend on agbo. When they've tried the antimicrobial for parasite malaria, they return to agbo. And when the agbo, they just keep alternating, and we pray that the good Lord will help us. So we are going to talk of some common infections needing interventions, which we must all show concern about. According to CDC, they've warned bacterial infection. If not, we should not go prescribing antibacterial, which is resulting into multi-drug resistance that we are suffering now. You will all agree with me that even when we had COVID, part of the treatment was antibiotics, even without diagnosis whether there was bacterial infection. And they have even regretted that this contributes to the increase in antimicrobial resistance by doing that as part of the rudiment for treating COVID. Also, urinary tract infection. The intervention is that even as we diagnose in vitro UTI, there must not be treatment unless there is symptom presentation by the patient because of asymptomatic bacteriuria. Asymptomatic bacteriuria have been proven by CDC that they should not be treated until there is manifestation of symptoms, and that we have to intervene in that regard. Skin and soft tissue infections, they've recommended that we should use narrow spectrum and not broad spectrum antibiotics, except there is failure. Same for sepsis. That Clostridium difficile colonization is one of the organisms that is giving us concern. And even resistance to it is now available. And that we must prove that it is no colonization of Clostridium difficile before we prescribe. If not, isolation of Clostridium difficile should be seen as normal colonization of this organism in the gut, and no antibiotic treatment should be given. For culture-proven intensive infections like blood cultures, CSF cultures, CDC is recommending that there must be prompt and effective treatment using antimicrobial that is susceptible. We are going to talk on health-associated infections, which can be community-acquired infections or the nosocomial infections, which a patient may acquire while on hospitalization and were presented while still on admission, or on getting out of the hospital symptoms start appearing, or those infections that we health professionals may have acquired in the course of our duties. And they have summed them all to say that they have cost us a lot of serious illness, lot of prolonged stay in our health facilities, increasing cost, long-term disability, preventable deaths, additional financial burden, and personal cost on patients and their family. You will agree with me now that the salary now is barely enough for our sustenance. So diverting so much to start tackling antimicrobial resistance acquired due to infection, we should try as much as possible to avoid that. Why is it? Can it be brought centrally? Is this? Okay, let me try to explain. What is here? We are talking of how bacteria develop resistance, and the step one, which is not showing, is just indicating microorganisms in an infection, and in the process, one or few of the isolates may have resistance gene, and it will be expressed. So that by step 2, when antibiotics is administered, it kills off the bacteria that are susceptible, leaving the resistant organism. The resistant organism keep multiplying, producing more resistant strains, infect other cells, transfer to neighboring organisms that are found through what we all know, through conjugation, transformation, transduction. The resistance genes are now transferred to other organisms, and continuously the transfer will be going on. The CDC now decided to categorize antibiotic resistance threats to the human health, and have categorized them into the urgent threats, serious threats, concerning threats, and the watch list. And that is for us in the microbiology to watch out for these following organisms should we encounter them. And I want to tell you that luckily, maybe from the lecture of yesterday, you would have heard that with modern technology of identification, most of these organisms are now routinely identified, making microbiology very exciting. For the urgent threats, identification of carbapenem resistant Acinetobacter species is an urgent threat that must be looked into. Candida auris, Clostridium difficile, carbapenem resistant Enterobacteriaceae for E. coli, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, and the rest. They are all included, even our Citrobacter we just talked about. You will remember that the carbapenems were recently introduced to overcome multi-drug resistance. But as you can see, resistant strain of organisms have started cropping up. We have our multi-drug resistant Neisseria gonorrhoeae, which we should all watch out for. The second category are the serious threats. In this ones, we have our drug-resistant Campylobacter, the drug-resistant Candida. If you have not started doing antimicrobial susceptibility for Candida, you better start. And you will find out that the result you will get will be very fascinating, that Candida resistance is on the increase. Extended spectrum beta-lactamase producing Enterobacteriaceae is of great concern, and right now I think the prevalence is over 30% in South Nigeria. Vancomycin resistance enterococci are on the increase. Multi-drug resistance Pseudomonas aeruginosa, especially those isolated from nosocomial infection, are there. Multi-drug resistant non-typhoidal Salmonella and Shigella. Our methicillin resistant Staph aureus, that one is on the increase. Drug resistance Streptococcus pneumoniae, our drug resistant tuberculosis. We thank God for our gene expert that is able to pick resistance to rifampicin, which have been aiding the diagnosis of tuberculosis. All this resistance, as you see them, they can be done routinely in our laboratory, and it's a wake-up call for all microbiologists that it's not just enough for you to stop at antimicrobial susceptibility testing, it is sensitive or it is resistant. But now you can probe further to know whether some of these genes responsible for carrying these resistant strains are present in the isolate you are working with. And by the time it is so reported, it aids the clinician on the choice of treatments to be given to such patients. Because within your AST, antimicrobial susceptibility testing, they may look sensitive, but in vivo, they are going to develop resistance because the resistance gene is already present in the isolate. And we have to help our clinicians to ensure that we are able to identify these isolates. Luckily, we have some machines that can pick them out. Our Vitek machine can pick ESBL, so can pick methicillin resistance organism. We have phenotypic method. If we cannot even buy the machine, we have phenotypic methods that you can find in literature. Work them out. They are simple tests that you can do, play with your agar, and you are able to identify phenotypically the presence of these resistant strains within our isolate. And we are advocating that we should go beyond reporting AST as just be sensitive and resistant. We should go further to check whether they have resistant abilities, and that one we can do. That has been my research thus far, and I know that it is practicable. And as I keep telling my students, I have taught you this skill. Get to your hospital, try and incorporate it, and ensure that you are part and parcel of those fighting against antimicrobial resistance. We have the third category, which are the concerning threats. Erythromycin resistance group A Streptococcus, clindamycin resistant group A Streptococcus. I have, while preparing this lecture, I have said, oh, my next students, we are going to try at least those other two categorized stages I talked about. At least I have publications, several publications of them. I'm going to start working on erythromycin and clindamycin resistance on our group A Streptococcus. And we have the watch list which CDC have told us to look out for. Azo-resistance Aspergillus fumigatus. You will all agree with me that until very recently, when you talk of antifungal, they just prescribe any of the azole or the police group and they work. But now resistance is coming up, and for our immunocompromised individuals which are increasing, there is need for us to watch out for azo-resistance Aspergillus fumigatus, drug resistance Mycoplasma genitalium, which causes sexually transmitted disease, drug resistance Bordetella pertussis, which causes whooping cough. And CDC have told us to watch out for this isolate resistance. We now want to talk on antimicrobial stewardship. Antimicrobial stewardship. What is stewardship? It's just the careful management of whatever have been placed in your care. That is being a good steward. We all remember the biblical teaching that Jesus gave to when they made the parable of this rich man was going on a journey, and he gave certain amounts to different individuals that they should work, and that on his return he will expect their stewardship to report back on what they have done. And we know what happened. Then when we talk of antimicrobial stewardship program, its own aim is to optimize the use of antimicrobials, improve patient outcomes, reduce antimicrobial resistance and healthcare associated infections. And in the process, we save the healthcare cost, among other things that we will soon analyze. So today, antimicrobial stewardship is one of the three pillars of an integrated approach to health system strengthening. The other two are infection prevention and control, and the third one is medicine and patient care safety. And with these three, the WHO is saying that the health system will be properly strengthened. When applied in conjunction with antimicrobial use surveillance, which I hope we will start when we leave this conference, and the WHO essential medicine list, the WHO essential medicine list from which prescription must be made internationally, from which Nigeria has extrapolated their national medicine list, and the NCDC is there monitoring to ensure that prescriptions are within that medicine list that is available to all clinicians. And if not properly followed, because of the topic we are talking about, they will call the clinician who prescribe to answer some questions, especially those under NHIS. Why will you prescribe this? Why have you not considered prescription of this? And at first time they will be given a warning. So that now when you get to the clinic, it's not always what you want. The clinician is going to give you what is acceptable by WHO recommendation. And some of them we are going to see later. Then we have the AWARE classification, which we will talk about almost immediately. The antimicrobial stewardship, we have to control antimicrobial resistance by optimizing the use of antimicrobials. We have under antimicrobial stewardship, we have what we call the 5 Ds of antimicrobial stewardship, which the clinicians and members of the committee are supposed to follow as a guiding tool. That you must prescribe the right drug. Does the infection need antimicrobial? Which antimicrobial does it need? Has sensitivity been done to know the drugs that it is susceptible to? Correct dosage. To our pharmacists, they are very concerned. What is the dosage? It must be followed strictly. Gone are the days. Please keep telling your aged people in the village. They just send children. Go and cut yellow capsule for me. They give the child 100 naira. Go and cut yellow and white capsule. They give the child some 50 naira. After that one, they take that, they will wait again. That the right dosage, if you are given prescription for 3 times a day for 5 days, it must be judiciously followed. If you are not following it, you are adding to the antimicrobial resistance in the society. The right drug route, is it intramuscularly introduced? Is it topical application? Is it oral? Is very, very essential. And you will agree with me that even when the clinician now, if you start with IV, within some days, they drop it to oral. And that is all trying to guide against antimicrobial resistance. Suitable duration. The manufacturers of antibiotics have been trying to ensure that instead of some you take 7 days, 5 days, some are now 3 days, depending. And the only thing is, as if the committee is saying, if your prescription is for 5 days, please comply. If your prescription is for 7 days, comply. If it is for 3 days, comply. If you are not complying, antimicrobial stewardship prescription is implemented. Okay, I'm not talking of timely de-escalation. Timely de-escalation is very, very important. And we should all know that it is better, I know we taught it in school, to use narrow spectrum antibiotics. But now you find out that everybody goes into broad spectrum antibiotics. And WHO is saying no. Doing that, you are contributing to antimicrobial resistance. We have to go back, start on narrow spectrum antibiotics so that we can preserve antibiotics for use for the future. That's one of the reasons. And we are saying that if you follow these 5 Ds in prescription, and we are able to implement our infection prevention control, the spread of microbes or bacteria will be limited to or halted eventually, which is our aim. We hope we'll be able to achieve it because God has given us dominion over all microorganisms. They cannot come and shorten our life. We have to take possession of that authority, and we pray we have the knowledge and the wherewithal to be able to fight this microbial warfare which is currently going on. So WHO have given the AWARE classification, which is an acronym. A is for access, WA is for watch, and the arrow E, reserve. All this trying to tell us is, in that WHO essential medicine list for antibiotics, all the antibiotics have been listed, and the access group are those ones that have wide range of commonly encountered susceptibility to common pathogens, and are also showing low resistance potential as against other antibiotics. And in this group we have the amikacin, the gentamicin, metronidazole, the clindamycin, sulfametronidazole, trimethoprim, and so many others if you check the list. And they are saying that these are the access. We normally prescribe them as first or second choice empiric treatment. It's only when there is resistance that you can go further. We have the watch list. With this group, the antibiotics seem to be susceptible or proved to be susceptible initially. But many of them, as you see them, the resistance rate is on the increase. And some of them, you will not even like to take them. But WHO is saying that for those that have not abused the use of antibiotics or have not misused antibiotics, they are still very efficient and very good. But that this group are likely, because they have high resistance potential, and we should watch out for those resistance potential. That's why I said many of them are already recording various prevalence of resistance. This ceftriaxone, cefuroxime, imipenem, ciprofloxacin, meropenem. You will even find out that few years back, meropenem and imipenem, they were very, very susceptible. But that is not the story now. We have the reserve group, and this reserve group are the last resort, which WHO have said clinicians should not go near, because they should be used only for when you have established multi-drug resistance, extensive drug resistance, PAN resistance. PAN resistance now is usually combination of even drugs within the reserve list. We have our colistin, our tetracycline, and the others in this group. And meropenem in combination with vaborbactam is one of them. And WHO have said we must restrict their use. I just said of how Professor Agbolaho was able to carry colistin from this group, added it to carbapenem, and was able to yield results because he could identify that there was multi-drug or PAN resistance, and he needed to do that. I know some of my students, when I give them, go and screen condition for colistin resistance, the clinician will say, no, we don't prescribe it. Why will you send your students to us? I say, just allow them, and you will find the result. And even right now, we are getting results. And why is it so that multi-resistance is happening? We are not even friendly to ourselves. You go to the farms, those that are doing fish farm, poultry farm, they feed them with colistin as growth enhancers. And we go buy these products. And as you consume them or come in contact with them, you are likely to contact these resistance strains to this organism. That even the colistin resistance have started coming up because we have recorded positive cases. The aim thing now is, how do we ensure that we have the One Health approach to combating infection, in which case you do not concentrate antimicrobial susceptibility to just the human health alone. You have to look for the organisms around the environment. You have to look for the organism around the vegetation, anything that humans get in contact to. Because we have even isolated so many resistant strains from pets. Your dogs, your cats, the cow, even the cows that move about. Check the Hausa men. Inside that their bags, they are all veterinary doctors. They inject all sorts of antibiotics into those animals. And we consume them on a regular basis. We come in contact with all these animals. And in the process, we are gradually thinking that you have not exposed yourself. But indirectly, we are all being exposed to this multi-drug resistant organism. That's why the fight is global. That's why the fight is a fight that must be fought, because the spread is so much. We are talking of, by the time you go around now, the new approach, as I said, the organism, the environment, the animals in between, all have to be studied. If not, we will not be able to combat this battle against multi-drug resistance. to talk about into the aim of an antimicrobial stewardship program. Why do we need antimicrobial stewardship program? Or to set up the committee in our hospitals? It is a World Health Directive. The NCDC is trying to push it. I know University of Benin Teaching Hospital, this started theirs last year in June or July, and their committee have been working all to ensure that they fight to achieve these aims that we are going to talk about. First is to optimize the use of antibiotics. That proper usage of antibiotics, we have to revisit it. To promote behavior changes in antibiotic prescribing and dispensing practice. We all know that we've abused the prescription, we've abused their usage, even the dispensing, whereby you go to a shop. Ideally, no person should go without a prescription, but people go to many patent medicine stores, even some pharmacy shops, and go buying sub-dosage of these antibiotics without even ensuring that the patient is coming back to complete the dosage. To improve quality care and patient outcomes, which is all our aim. We are all in the hospital working to ensure that our patients get well. If they get well, it's to our credit. They are all our relations. They are all our friends and our children. So we must have a good patient outcomes. To save on unnecessary healthcare costs, which we said before. To reduce further emergence, selection, and the spread of multi-drug resistance. To prolong the lifespan of existing antibiotics. As we said, many of the antibiotics are getting resistant. It's like now, very few instances you hear people prescribing penicillin or some of those drugs because they have been so abused. Resistance is so high that there is just need for us to use other drugs. And the rate of manufacturing of newer drugs is not even fast enough. It's so expensive. Drug producers have discovered that it's better to produce drugs for other medical cases than to produce antibiotics, which even before you know is out of the market due to resistance. And all the cost of production, they've not even recovered. So they are not even interested because they are after money. But we are saying that no, since 1998 to present, only 11 new drugs, antibiotics have come in. Of these 11, WHO only accepted 2 on the essential medicine list. So you can imagine, we are talking of drug resistance. Which drug are we going to go into? If newer drugs are not coming, then a time will come we will all be living to our faith and maybe returning back to Agbo, which we left before. To prolong, I've said that, to limit the adverse income impact of multi-drug resistance, which we know that you keep trying. Each time you buy new drugs, it's more cost on the patient and the institution. To build the best practice capacity of healthcare professionals regarding the rational use of antibiotics, we just have to do that which is right by practicing, prescribing, following up appropriately. So who are the key members or the organizational structure of Antimicrobial Stewardship Committee, which I'm saying that NCDC, WHO have said it should be formed in our healthcare institutions to achieve those aims that we have itemized. Healthcare facility administrator, it may be the CMD, the chief medical director, it's good for them to take the chairmanship role, because when they are inside, they will know the policy, how to pursue it. They will be willing to release funds because they are all part of the committee. The infectious control physician or the clinical microbiologist are necessary because they prescribe and follow up. Antimicrobial stewardship, there's usually a pharmacist that is in charge. They can make him the secretary because they will be dealing with the dose and the duration and informing patients on how to comply. Directors of other departments, patient safety and clinical quality managers, the nurses are very important. Pharmacy is up. There's no, maybe depending on how like they want the committee to be, only one may be present in the committee. We have our microbiology representative, which is the medical laboratory scientist. In UBTH, we have a medical laboratory scientist in the team. We will talk of his roles shortly. We have the IT representative, because most of the work are electronically reported and transferred to NCDC for surveillance monitoring. And we have some committees which are supposed to be existing in the hospital. If they are not embedded, they can be included, the representative of them, the Drug and Therapeutic Committee, especially in case of reactions, even on antimicrobials, that you may have people talking of side effects, allergic responses, and all that. We have our infection prevention and control committee. This committee have been long in the hospital, and many, at least they seem to comply with this committee. They are very relevant. And the patient safety committee representative also is needed. Those are the requirements of the WHO. Then what is the role of the medical laboratory scientist, the microbiology representative in this antimicrobial stewardship? Education, diagnostic stewardship, actual reporting, tracking, which we said you must facilitate and be sending results to the NCDC and other monitoring group for epidemiological pattern and determination of appropriate interventions. So on education, the medical laboratory scientist is to promote education and communication between the laboratory and the clinician about characteristics such as the turnaround time for susceptibility testing, the test performance that needs to be done, what antibiotics, we find out that there are so many methodicts, so many drugs that are included, but are they based on the essential drug list that is being supplied to us? That's why the Ozoid Dix is still very good but very expensive. So now we have so many cheap ones all over. Any person can make any combination, of which most of those drugs, having checked with our airway classification, and then do they include the access, the watch list into the drug that we are assaying? You have to check to make your choice of what methodix or single discs to use. How to teach the staff about the best practice in specimen collection and other identification of the organism is very, very essential. Because if you collect the wrong specimen, you may be doing a susceptibility test for a contaminant which does not need antimicrobial therapy. By exposing that individual to such treatment, you are further enhancing antimicrobial resistance. Educate clinicians how to interpret test reports. I know from time to time we are supposed to be sending our interpretation to the clinician, especially these younger ones that are joining. Many of them do not know how to interpret even our simple reporting of sex and resistance. We have to still guide them on the choice as the case may be, and that's the responsibility of our colleague in that committee. Diagnostic stewardship optimize testing practices that impact antibiotic stewardship, which some of them we said when it's like this disease condition is such that reports must be out as soon as possible without delay, without complaining. We should know that CSF, blood cultures, we must ensure we check, and when there is a flag, we must respond by diagnosing promptly, and be able to send all these results of electronic health to the appropriate places. Monitor key microbiology specimen quality indexes like blood culture contamination, which is very important. From experience, you find actually the ones coming from SCBU, these are little children. Let us not unnecessarily expose them to antibiotics, whereas it is just poor collection of contamination of those cultures. Perform quality control interventions, which is one of our primary aim to ensure that our procedures are correct. Review best practices to implement new solutions, like some of the ones I said. We must go beyond AST of just sensitivity and resistance. Let us try to know the cause. Why? What is the property in the nucleus, in the plasmid, in the chromosome? Does it have resistance gene? If it does, we can now advise the clinician on those resistance we have identified, so that he will not prescribe drugs that is against those particular expression of resistance. Involve multidisciplinary personnel in the decision to introduce new diagnostic tests with antibiotic stewardship implications. I've said some of them. Action. Prospective audits and feedback to the committee. Regularly review the way anti-susceptibility test is performed in the laboratory, the drugs to test, interpretation and communication of results must be done promptly. Tailor anti-susceptibility test performance and reporting to formulary decision. As we said, we must try to encourage the use of narrow spectrum antibiotics, which must be included in the methods we are using. Routine report of anti-susceptibility test result only for those drugs included in hospital essential list, and we should report using the clinical and laboratory standards institute method, or the UCAS European Committee for Anti-Susceptibility Test cutoff for interpretation, in which case we are saying that not just sensitivity and resistance, they will tell you what is resistant. Even if it takes measurements, you have to measure, you have to put up controls to ensure that when you say it is sensitive, it is sensitive. If it is intermediate, you should report as intermediate, not taking it as sensitive or resistant. If it is resistant, so report. So that when you report, the clinician know that intermediate results are taken as resistance, not as sensitive. But if you miss out that intermediate reporting, it will be taken as either sensitive or resistant, depending on who is interpreting the result. In reporting, I want to just explain one of the key things that need to be done by our lab scientists in the group, the microbiologists, what we call our antibiogram. What is antibiogram? You can just pick, let's assume, you pick urine antibiogram over a period of 1 year. Which organism did you isolate from urine? You list them. You keep recording the number of the ones that grew that organism. Then list all the antibiotics you test routinely against and record their percentage susceptibility. At the end of the year, you will look at a broadsheet. You will know whether this one is having resistance more often than it used to be. This one is still susceptible. This percentage are the ones that are now sensitive, and you can have a plan from there on. But without antibiogram, it will not be possible. So we need a staff, a dedicated staff, whose duty is to ensure that you are in charge of this antimicrobial stewardship, and you must produce antibiogram for all the specimen. You may even go as to the works. ICU, which organisms comes out, what is the organism that are coming out from there, what is the sensitivity report. So by the time you prepare this antibiogram, it will help policy makers. They will now know the drugs that should be in the empiric list, the ones that they can prescribe that, oh, the organism we get from this environment, E. coli is susceptible to nitrofurantoin by the antibiogram that was submitted for 2024. And with that assurance, they will be able to improve on our reporting. So in conclusion, antimicrobial resistance is a burning public health issue requiring education, advocacy, technical expertise of all healthcare professionals in service to the teeming public. The role of medical laboratory scientists, which is the microbiologist, is crucial in development of antibiograms, quality anti-susceptibility testing results, and prioritize local needs in conjunction with pharmacy and the works and the clinic, which will achieve our 5 Ds, which we talked about. The need for interprofessional collaboration in the health setting couldn't be more there than now. Antimicrobial stewardship would improve quality of healthcare outcomes, research, and summarily reduce the incidence of hospital-associated infection. Together, we can bring down the burden of antimicrobial resistance. Together, we can bring down hospital-associated infections. We need everybody to put their hands on deck. Let us ensure that antimicrobial resistance, hospital-associated infections are brought under control. I want to make some recommendation. There is a burning need to have in every healthcare facility antimicrobial stewardship committee, which is all I have been talking. Infection prevention and control committee. If they are not in your hospital, you can go and be initiating how they can be put in place. Training and retraining of medical laboratory scientists in anti-susceptibility tests, newer anti-susceptibility test techniques. I was reading while preparing that even AI for AST, antimicrobial susceptibility testing, is on the pipeline. Not much was written about it, but having mentioned it, I know we will get there. Need for all medical microbiology laboratories to adopt the clinical and laboratory standard institute or the UCAS guidelines in interpreting AST result, that's susceptibility test result, as sensitive, intermediate, or resistant is more or less mandatory for us. I think it's just to show the references I have used. And I want to thank you all for this beautiful audience who have listened attentively. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that beautiful presentation. Please, may we put our hands together for her once again. That was nice. Infection, again infection. If you pass all the major junctions in Nigeria, you see loudspeakers, horn speakers announcing, come and see staphylococcus inside bottle, come and this, come and that. That is what is ready now. So this lecture is really timely. We want to entertain a couple of questions before we move on to the next lecture. So we shall be having 4 maximum. Okay, so let's have 3 or 4 questions from the audience. After then, we'll ask all the questions at the same time, as in all the persons that want to ask questions, we'll ask them at the same time, then she'll take them one after the other. So please, let's hear if there are any questions from the audience. They go set exam, and when they go set exam, we better pass. Okay, yes. Our immediate past chairman, he has a question. Please.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that very insightful and exposing presentation. You went so much into our own roles as medical lab scientists, but there's still one disturbing aspect: the issue of fake drugs. If we have done a proper job and the patient is not actually resistant, how do we now marry these issues together? The drug is not potent enough. Is this so a very big challenge? Because if we do our own jobs, the challenge of substandard drug still remains a major menace in the management of this patient, because antimicrobial resistance is sure going to come, and it's just a time bomb for our setting because of the way even the prescribed drugs. For every malaria, you must prescribe amoxicillin presently, and it's a challenge. So how do we just oppose this issue of fake, expired or substandard drug in relation to antimicrobial resistance? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. We still want to entertain more questions, please. Okay. Please, your name and chapter.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for this lecture. My name is Boy Udan, chapter. On this issue of antimicrobial resistance, this is where I need enlightenment, because at the level where there is antimicrobial resistance, I really don't understand the way out. Let's say we have a patient who is already at that point. All the drugs that we know of, including these new carbapenems, are resistant. What do we do? Where do we go from there? Like we are trying not to get there. But some patients are already there. Is there any action plan on what to do concerning people who are already at that point? I just need clarification. Thank you.
Okay, we still have to go. We have to go at this point. Okay, please.
I'm Dr. Johnson Itanai from Dennis Osalemi West. want to thank you, Prof, for the exciting lecture. In the course of your presentation, you mentioned new techniques in identification. I'll be very happy if you share them to us. Thank you.
And lastly, can we have a woman? May not be saying a lady man your voice. Okay, in absence of any other question, please, I want to hand the mic over to Professor Kifiri to give us the answers.
I think the first person was talking on fake drugs or sales of expired drugs, substandard drugs. These are our brothers across the Niger. They are always there. They are more common because that's where the market is. But I want to say that in those days, I do not know now, we used to monitor concentration of drugs. It's our work. Concentration of the active ingredients. Do they have the titer or the expected concentration? And if they don't have, we recommend back to the pharmacy from which they will now trace back to the supplier of those drugs. But all these are not being done again. They are not being done again. It's for us to identify. Have we done the best within the antimicrobial stewardship? What is happening? Then there is no need for us to go and start thinking of use of fake drugs. And it's still on us to do that. So we should be up at doing. We are not going to leave diagnosis for any other profession. It's our work. We have so much work to do. It's how to ensure that we create jobs for the teeming lab scientists that are being shown out from the universities. Then the second person talked on that's why the pharmacy found out that they were having prominent role. They did give the WHO knew all these ones and decided to give the prominent role in that stewardship committee so that they too can know where to source genuine drugs from and ensure that they are using genuine drugs. We are giving this lecture assuming that the drugs are supposed to be optimal. Then the second person talk of action plan for resistant organisms. Can you say it again? Oh, it's not? Okay, that what do we do with all these pan-resistant, extensive resistance?
Who are already there?
Who are already there?
How can we manage those kind of situations?
That is the problem. That's why we are all trying to ensure that we do not wait till our patients will get there. I started the lecture by talking of the number of people that have died due to antimicrobial resistant drugs. That is the cause of their death. If we monitor, that's the whole essence of surveillance. There is nothing you can do like that Papa that I talked about. If not for this intervention of Professor Bolao, so many like him just wait till death will take them. The only way, as we said, one is for pharmacists, drug manufacturers, producers of antibiotics to start producing new as the organisms are struggling for survival. So we too should be abreast with research on how to ensure that we combat them. Whatever mechanism they are using to come to counteract the therapy, we should come with newer drugs to be able to. That's why we have the penicillin, the cephalosporins, the amoxicillins. We now went to carbapenems and others. But it is like now, the rate of pumping out new antibiotics are drastically reduced. And one article I read, the man was saying that is the cost of production, and that they are not even sure if the shelf life, the market life of this product, they will be able to reclaim back the money they have used for the production. So they will prefer to go and make drugs for other medical cases that do not have any resistance reporting. That with time they are paracetamol, we have all been taking paracetamol. Has it changed? If you have your condition needing paracetamol, it has been the same paracetamol. But the story is not the same for antibiotics. The organism just keep changing. By the time you got that this not, by the course you find out that if this is the mode of action, before you know it, they've changed their mode of action to something else. As you are bringing drugs for that one, they too are struggling for survival. They are changing to overcome that mode of action. So that is the problem that is peculiar to antibiotics and not with other drugs. But the only thing which World Health Organization essential medicine list have brought out is that if you check these newer drugs, they are talking of combination drugs. Combination drugs. If new ones are not coming, let us see how we can combine. I showed one meropenem and varobetan as a combination drugs that can be used. You can use imipenem and colistin. There are many on that list of combination. It's just that World Health Organization is maximally introducing them so that they will not be abused again. So those are the two reasons I think we can use to combat pan and excessive multi-drug resistance for now. Then the third question was talking of newer techniques for susceptibility testing, for identification of these resistant organisms, I thought it was supposed to be part of yesterday. There are many identification methods now. You know we cannot, the normal method of colonial morphology, biochemical tests, serological tests are not sufficient because we don't even have enough of biochemical tests for the identification. Now in UBTH, we use the Macrobat machine, an automated method of identification. And when you use Macrobat and you see the results of isolates that are causing infection, you are happy. It is not all the time staph, E. coli, they make this Pseudomonas. Then we say coliform C because you don't have reagent to identify. This one they will give you beautiful identification because they run batteries of tests. We have the VTech machine, which is also automated. So it is automation. And now we are even stepping further, as I said, that we are now looking on how we can incorporate AI into the automation to make identification more precise. And because of this one, our PCRO machines in developed countries, even South Africa, even our neighboring country, Cotonou we went to, if you check their laboratories, PCRO is like normal microscope, which we have on our benches here. With PCRO identification, you are identifying at the gene level. Your results are authentic, they are specific, they are sensitive. But how many laboratories can run PCRO identification? All you listen in the news is people embezzling our billions, our trillions. These are money that should be used to equip the laboratory, our training sector, to ensure that we have top health, top education for our people. Development will come from there. When you have a healthy population, you have an enlightened population. The average Nigerian is very intelligent. We can start and ensure that Nigeria is properly technologically developed. So that is the problem, availability of money. Even all those, they converted many gene expert machine to PCRO during the COVID period. How many of them are working? We just pray God that we do not have any other pandemic like COVID again. All those systems that was put in place for identification. I had a student who worked on COVID surveillance in Delta State. At the time we go to Table where to go and confirm some, no machine is working. Only 2 in the country. As they close COVID, all the systems started closing. So we just pray God. By this time we should have developed from where we were. Use those PCRO machine to be identifying other organisms. I'm hoping that more are coming. And so that when any outbreak come again, we are super ready. But should we have another outbreak again, we are going to step 1 of assembling what is needed for diagnosis all over. I hope I've been able to satisfy you, my brother. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Like I say, for 2027, as they all change governments, we'll still change citizens too. We'll do a new election to change the citizens. In view of the time, I'll be asked to proceed with the whatever questions come on private. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to, I was the former state AIDS program coordinator. Because you mentioned the gene expert machine and that they are all down, they were being supported by partners. For example, in Obiaroku, the gene expert there was being supported by Clinton Health Access Initiative. And so when COVID-19 left, they expected the government to continue. Why I'm sharing this information now, for those of you still in service, make sure that there's a continuum, because as the partners left, they helped us to put it in place, but as they left, we left them to die away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So that's why I say we'll change the citizens too. In the next election, we'll get some citizens out of the country. Not to say that UK they will carry you go. Okay, Cotonou is equally good. On this note, we want to move to the next speaker. Building resilient diagnostic system in resource-limited settings. Building resilient diagnostic system in resource-limited settings. We shall be inviting Dr. Charity Obiake to the program. She shall be talking to us on this topic for the next 30 minutes. For the next 30 minutes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the hard table. Good afternoon, colleagues here present, invited guests. I'm Dr. Charity Obiake. Diagnosis is the mainstay of modern medicine. Diagnosis involves using tools, processes to detect or identify diseases. There are forms of diagnosis. It takes different processes. History taking, physical examination. You can use tools like MRI, ultrasound, lab testing to detect what is the disease condition or the nature of the disease or manage the patient. Diagnostic systems are critical for disease detection and treatment decisions, and they are also very important in public health response. A resilient diagnostic system are central to effective healthcare delivery and disease control. What is a resilient diagnostic system? A resilient diagnostic system consistently provides accessible, accurate, affordable, and timely tests. It should have skilled well-distributed workforce. It should have a reliable supply chain and logistic systems. A reliable diagnosis system, resilient, should adapt quickly to emerging health threats. It comes in to help to detect and control emerging diseases like cases of Ebola or COVID-19. It should make use of innovations and adaptable technologies. And it should integrate well with surveillance and health information system. This is like it should be connected to the internet. Data information can be easily sent online. This is what you should have for a diagnosis system in all settings, including a resource-limited setting. What is a resource? A resource is what the tools we use to achieve a goal, complete a task, or solve a problem. Resources could be human resources, could be the personnel, the qualified medical lab scientists. It's a human resource. Financial resources, you need money. Physical resources, materials, equipment that you use to work. Information resources or natural resources, minerals, waters are resources. Resource-limited settings refers to environment where you have healthcare systems having significant constraints in terms of resources. Their materials available to do work are not there. And you see that most especially in low-income countries, in middle-income countries. You see it in rural settings. You see it in areas affected by conflict, by wars, or natural disasters like earthquake and flooding. There is resource limitation. There is limitation in workforce. There is limitation in finance. There is limitation in materials. Supply chain is affected. They face these challenges. Some of their challenges are inadequate infrastructure. Sometimes the natural disaster would have destroyed the facility, the lab facility. You find that in some areas they don't have constant electric power, or there is no electric power. Potable water, potable clean water is not available in these settings. You find that there are shortage of skilled lab staff. You see more medical lab scientists, for example, in the urban areas than in the rural settings. There is limited supply chains for reagents and equipment. Sometimes the road networks are bad to transport these materials to these rural settings. It is not always easy. The regulatory systems may be weak. Quality assurance may not even be well implemented in these settings. You find that there are financial constraints. You find that there is not enough money. Sometimes in war-prone areas, you see that the finance, the resources, the money is diverted towards winning the war or defending the city. Those areas have very, very major financial constraints in terms of funding these diagnostic systems. You have some political or policy barriers. Some policies are adverse to diagnostics in healthcare, and it is a challenge in these resource-limited settings. What do you do? How do you strengthen resilience in these settings? What you do is to invest in infrastructure. In areas that don't have good road networks, you can invest, you can build bridges, you can build good roads to make sure that these areas are accessible, so that you can attract patients to these facilities. You also use solar-powered labs. You use solar to provide power to these lab facilities if there is no electric supply. You can also build local capacity through workforce training and retraining programs. You try to train the qualified personnel you have. We all know that a well-trained staff is a more competent staff, and training and retraining helps to update their knowledge, and you find that you can better retain those staffs. You integrate digital health and telemedicine tools. Very, very important. They help to increase accessibility to internet services. You create rapid diagnostic search capacity for operates. You try to provide in vitro testing kits for the diagnosis of diseases. In vitro testing kits that can diagnose HIV, malaria, COVID-19 can help to provide diagnosis to these settings. We can have to implement fully the National Essential Diagnostics List. These are in vitro tests that the government has made available and affordable for in vitro diagnosis, and it is most of the time more affordable and available. You also try to decentralize the diagnostics. You don't always have a lab facility to do these tests. You can use mobile labs. During the COVID-19 era, you find that in rural settings, mobile labs were set up in some places so that they can also do their testing there. You use point-of-care tests. These point-of-care tests can be used at the patient bedside or at home. The aim is to be able to diagnose and detect diseases. You strengthen the supply chains. You try to address the bottlenecks that makes the supply chains weak. You try to look at the supplier. You try to diversify your source of supply of your materials and equipment. When you do that, you will strengthen the supply chains and make reagents and materials available. You try to implement quality assurance and accreditation programs. Always try to do your internal and external assessments. They help to produce good, quality, accurate, reliable results on time. Remember, we're trying to build a resilient diagnostic system, a system that should be accessible, that should provide accurate, reliable diagnostic, timely tests. So you try to develop public-private partnership and international collaborations. You try to collaborate with international agencies like World Health Organizations or private companies that this can increase funding, this can increase your funds that you may need to upgrade your labs. Some innovative approaches have been put in place. In some places, in Rwanda, in rural settings, they use drones to transport blood supplies to rural settings. This use of drones cuts the use of road networks, which is faster, and they get their blood products earlier and at a better condition. We have also used solar-powered labs. These are innovations. During the COVID-19 era, some DNexpert machines for TB were converted for diagnosis of COVID-19. Rapid diagnostic tests for infectious diseases are some innovative approaches that can be used to strengthen resilience in diagnostic systems. Why is it important that we should strengthen resilience in diagnostic systems? It's important because you have to ensure timely and accurate diagnosis. We all know that early diagnosis of a disease helps to prevent complications. This will reduce mortality and morbidity. It helps to maintain continuity of care in challenging conditions. For a patient that is that has chronic disease like diabetes, and there is disruption in lab services, the patient the management may be disrupted, and this may make the condition worse. You maintain continuity of care even in adverse condition. You also try to improve the health outcome in vulnerable populations, in populations that are in rural settings. Most of the time they are poor and they have little access. If they don't have good access to health care, they may easily die from preventable diseases. It helps to improve their health outcome. It helps to strengthen the health system resilience and preparedness in cases of, if a health system is resilient, in cases of outbreaks, they are prepared. It is cost effective, and it is cost effective. It is cost effective because instead of transporting yourself to the from rural areas to urban areas to access healthcare, the person can easily access healthcare at these settings and save costs. So you use scalable healthcare options. The options you will use are something that you can upgrade over time. You see that you empower the healthcare providers and communities. They get work, they are well paid, they take care of their families, and you're able to bridge the health equity gaps. There is still divide between the rich and the poor. That is taken care of. The rich and the poor, those in the rural and the urban areas, have equal access to healthcare, which is very important. Building resilience in diagnosis system is not an option. The diagnosis is the backbone of of medicine, and it should work even in uncertainty. Please. It should work even in uncertain conditions. So we will recommend that the government should prioritize diagnosis in health policies and national budget. They should provide adequate investment in local infrastructure. There should be constant power supply, and there should be workforce development. They should promote availability of adaptable, scalable diagnostic platforms for different settings. And they should also foster cross-sector collaboration among government, NGOs, and the private sector. It's very important that we integrate digital tools like AI, mobile apps, to improve diagnosis, reporting, and surveillance systems. Diagnoses are fundamental to a strong resident health system, and it's important to address workforce, to address accessibility, to assess quality, to assess supply chains, to enhance quality in our services. Sustainable investment and innovation partnership will help to drive resilience in resource-limited setting. The whole aim is to improve the health outcome of the population. Thank you very much for listening.
Since our MC is missing in action, we just continue from where the facilitator stopped. So it's time for contribution, questions, addition. If you have any question, any contribution, indicate by raising your hand. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ibu Doctor, for that direct and very educative seminar. Mine is not a question, it's actually a form of a contribution that I want to give. I like this particular topic that is strengthening the rural environment. There's one particular area that we are neglecting when it comes to trying to strengthen rural areas, is the issue of, let's say, the reward system for the people that are supposed to be in the rural setting. The reward system. There is no system that can function without people. No matter how you design it, put solar panels, put everything. You see the people that are working there. When I was growing up, before I got into the profession, there is something I heard that is called rural allowance. The people that are in urban areas, they don't receive the same thing as those in rural areas, because the things that make life worth living, they are not in rural areas. You cannot go to the cinema to watch a movie in the rural areas. In fact, they post people to rural areas as punishment. People work, they like to work in urban areas. You cannot compare somebody that is working in the heart of Asaba to somebody that is working down Uluku. It is not the same. Now the thing is, we are neglecting, we are using a general pay system for those that we are expecting to be in the rural area. When they get there, because they are humans, and human works with the action of reward. What am I gaining from this? What is the direct benefit for me in this? It's either they start working for themselves in the rural area, or they don't do the work. If they cannot beat the system to start working for themselves, don't neglect the job. So part of what we must do is to enhance the remuneration packages for those in the, if we can say, okay, those in the urban areas, they may not have accommodation. You can say, okay, because you are in the city. But if you tell the person in the rural area that there is accommodation provided, the person might want to consider it, okay, I will not have to spend for accommodation. I have to have this, I have to have rural allowances. I have to work 3 times in a week. Issues like that, whether it's private or in public, is going to go a great way to solving this problem of strengthening the labor. We have it now. Some of us we know what we are talking about when it comes to issue of rural area. So my advice is that whether it's private, in fact, private should do more, because in government you have chances of transfer to cities. In private, you really don't. The remunerations are direct. So thank you. That's my conclusion.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Any other person? All right, so we want to thank Dr. Charity Obianke for this beautiful presentation. Because we don't have time, we have 3 other facilitators waiting behind, so we need to just move forward. Please, can you just put up the slide for the next presenter? Thank you very much. You don't have slides? Sorry. All right, so the next presenter is Pastor Alfred Barty. He's going to talk to us on leveraging public-private partnership in deploying digital technology for medical laboratory service.
No, reform tax.
That's your topic.
Reform tax.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so sorry about that. He misled me, I'm so sorry. All right, so he is going to talk to us on tax reforms and its implication and impact on medical laboratory practice. Thank you very much, Pastor. We have it.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to appreciate the ITable, and I want to equally appreciate all the members of the medicals, the honorables. I will start first. My job is very simple. There's a hadith that says that even when you have the medication, exercise is what he said is the best. So we're going to stand up and take this simple song. My head, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, my hair, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, my head, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, they all belongs to Jesus. One more time. My head, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, my head, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, my head, my shoulder, my nails, my toe, they all belong to Jesus. Celebrate the grace of God upon your life. I'm indeed delighted to be in your midst. It's a pleasure. Pleasure is mine. I have a mentor that coached me in tax. His name is Frank. He's a doctor now, Dr. Frank Wogu. Most of us might know him. He said, when I sleep with tax. When I eat tax. When I wake up with tax. I want to paraphrase our facilitators, from the IT who have said so much about tax, about your activities. But I want to speak on what tax reform, on the materials we use, the machines we use in producing all the things what we use in the hospital. Some of them are dated, Even like the Agbo that she said about, Agbo now is being refined. It's not like the way you see before. You have to use machine to grind some of the things that you use for Agbo. The last time I went to one of all these chemists, I wanted to buy Vasoprene. And the cost of buying Vasoprene is very high. Because we don't have the machine that are producing all those little and local drugs. Even when you talk about the solar is It's expensive. All those are things that ordinarily government could have produce without taxing them. But our government is they are in the Senate carrying the big portfolio. Ghana must go. They don't even look at what is happening to common man, which is very very, very bad. And before we can start about reform, we need to know the basic foundation of tax. What is tax? Tax is a contribution imposed by the government to carry out the activities. We have types of tax. We have income tax, which is personal income tax. We have sales tax, which is for goods and services. We have property tax, which is for real estate. We have VAT, which is for value added tax, which is the one that belongs to the medical laboratories that we need to talk about. And before now, there was the government, which is legislation 2004, they passed a law that laboratories they should be consolidations throughout the federation. The first reading has passed, but is dying in second reading. That is where we are. When the people we voted for, we say let they represent us. When they get there, they start discussing something that is we did not send them to. So these are the controversies that we see all over the drama we see there. But simply, I want to tell you, to look at the tax reforms and its implication on medical laboratory practices. Tax reform has been implemented globally. It's not only Nigeria, all over the world, to improve economic growth, so that people will not be dying like chicken. People will not just go to the hospital, they will ask you, bring money. And if you don't bring money, they will not attend to you. I've seen a scenario whereby somebody was being admitted, just ordinary amount. I don't know how much they're collecting card now. And they said they will not treat the person. I didn't blame the person that was there. Because all of these things that are being put in place, they are money. Because if you don't revive it, the system will collapse. And that's why you need to collect money to do your work. Hello? And increase increase government revenue. However, this reform can have important implication on various industries, including medical laboratory practice. This presentation will discuss the importance of tax reform on medical laboratory practice. One of the reform is value added tax. Value added tax is a consumption tax on levied on value added to goods and services. Those are the important things that are the important drugs, important machines that are coming. How do we preserve them? If you don't have the machines to preserve them, they will the drugs will just come and they will be melted. And that's why the government impose tax on them, so that they can carry out the activities of which is not to. It should have been free. Those machines that are coming in should have been free, so that a common man can have access when he's sick, can be treated freely. But it's not like that in our economy. I pray that the Almighty God will help us. This new hope. I'm sure good things and better things will come out. Corporate the second one is corporate tax. A corporate tax is is on the profit of corporations. Anyone that are doing business, they will any profit they make out of their income. is what is going to be taxed. That is what the government what does. Income tax, you and I, we all know this is very familiar with all of us. A tax on individual income, pay as you want, which is normal. Without that, the government, they said they cannot carry out their activities. And the roads are there, they are not even what, they are not even looking at that. God will help us all. The implications of tax reform on medical laboratory practice. It will what? Increase in cost of laboratory service. If you tax all the machines, all the things that are using in doing your research, if you tax it, it's going to increase the cost of what? Those machines. Even if you, like all these people that are doing inverter and all those things, if you tax them, you cannot even use them in what? In your laboratories. You can't use them in the hospital because they are very expensive. And this ordinarily will be what? Free from the government. 2, okay, the increased cost of laboratory services, VAT and what corporate tax can what increase the cost of laboratory services, making them less affordable for what? For patients. These things are very, very simple because I have to simplify this so that you can just get them very easy. But it will be less affordable for what? For patients to buy. Like the BP, what they call it, what we use in checking your distance, the price are what? Escalated. Common man cannot even buy it. And before you know it, what happen? They will die because it is better that they need to check their cost every day, and that is not there. 2, it will reduce what? Investment in laboratory infrastructure. It will increase what? Corporate tax can reduce investment in laboratory infrastructure, either in what? Development of new technologies and what? Services. You know, some of all these things we use, they are what? Is going to be changed. So they are dated. If you go to developed countries, it's not what they are using in 2020, that's what the machines they are using now. But because of the cost of the things, we cannot what the government said they cannot afford it. And already the money is there, but they will not do that. I pray that the Almighty God will give them the foresight to look into medical department. 3, impact on what? Laboratory staffing. It's supposed to be what? Look at some of us now are traveling out. Some of all the doctors, because they are nowhere taken care of. And what happened there? What? They are traveling. And not that the money is not there. Income tax reform can what? Affect the take-home pay of laboratory staff, potentially leading to what? To reduce what? Moral and what? Increase in staff turnover, just like the addition that the competition that my brother just made. Those people that are in rural area, they need to be what? Taking specially what? Care, so that people work with people who have interest in going to those rural areas. But they are not what? They are not looking to that. 4th, changes in what? Laboratory business models. Tax reform can lead to what? Can lead to changes in laboratory business model, such as increasing outsourcing of laboratory services. It is true. Without what? If all these things, if you don't change them, they are dictated. Like what they call it, the resistant anti-malaria, anti that my auntie brother, auntie sister that she's mentioning. You need new machine to put them because they are dated. You need to change them. If you don't change them, you will see that the malaria world, you will gain more strength, more power, and to begin to kill more people. I pray that the Almighty God will help us all in the name of Jesus. Recommendations. I want to make my recommendations. Exempt the government exempt medical laboratory service from what? From VAT. Let the government not tax all those things that we use machine in doing our research, in doing all our practice in the hospital. Let government not tax them, because they tax them, it is very expensive for what the common man to afford. That is the truth. That is the truth. Exempting medical, laboratory service from VAT can reduce the cost of laboratory service and make them more affordable for patients. 2, it reduces corporate tax rate. It reduces corporate tax rate. Reducing corporate tax rate can increase investment in laboratory infrastructure and staffing. You'll find out that what people will import all those things. Go to our bed. One day, one of my accountant was being hospitalized. When in the night when we were even having 9 vigilo before they called us. They said the guy is dying, and we rush it to what? We rush it to the hospital. Get it to the, they say no space, no bed space. Can you imagine that? No bed, no bed space. So if government were looking onto all these things, build more buildings, more infrastructures, and all those things, it will be what? To accommodate more space, and anybody that be admitted, be treated what? Be treated well. Where am I? Implementing tax incentives for research and development. Implement tax incentives for research and development can encourage innovation in medical laboratory practices. It's very simple. Conclusion: tax reform can have important implications on medical laboratory practice, affecting the cost, quality, and accessibility of laboratory services. It is essential to consider the impact of tax reform on medical laboratory practice and implement policies that will promote innovation, quality, and accessibility. My reference, you can get all these things. Go to World Health Organization 2019 Transition and Health. You can get International Monetary Fund 2020 Tax Policies and Economy. The third one, American Society for Clinical Pathology 2020, the impact of tax reform on medical laboratories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Alfred Batty, for that beautiful presentation. We want to entertain 2 questions from the audience. Okay.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, Isiche Michael is my name. Chief Medical Lab Scientist, Government House, Asaba. Thank you very much. I'm very glad you are here. So, friend to friend, know to know, we are going to talk about this thing. Very simple, because I represent 2 arms of medical lab, and the other arm, terribly. We don't want to talk about the civil service arm. We'll come to that later. Okay, but right now, the tax system in Delta State wants to run some private labs out of existence, to be very candid. And I just don't know how these things are coming about. Will I say just basic tax, but the tax that comes from, is it the Board of Internal Revenue? That one we've been able to a great extent, liaise with them to have mercy. Okay, that's one of the reasons. Even yesterday, we tend to commend the deputy governor when he was the chairman board of directors. He helped us to a great extent. But right now, we are having levies upon levies upon levies coming. I don't know whether it's under your auspices, but I think they are together. They look together. In our platform right now, we have to have a parley with the Commissioner of Environment recently. The waste management levies, we don't even know the one to pay and the one not to pay. They are up to 5 for those staying in Asaba and environs. Somebody will bring gas emission and sanitation, environment, caution fee back. They will quote this amount.
And waste disposal.
One will come with waste. Even when you tell them that we don't give you our waste, and they are not collecting, not that they are coming to say pay, we will collect. They will say pay, but are you collecting? No, you pay 50,000 every year. The other one is Winkings and Wings. That one comes again. They say they are directly from the Board of Internal Revenue. They are collecting on behalf of the state. You say no, but local government is no. They say that one is local government. Probably one day now, one will come for federal government. All on waste for a lab, a medical lab outfit. Then that is for waste. Then we have those ones coming for what's the latest one now? Gas emission, fusion, different types. Then the last one we are dealing with is the ones this local government came up that they will not do health check on us. If one of them I confront, I say, so you are going to do medical certificate of fitness for me, a environmental health person. You do medical certificate for a medical personnel, and they stated so many things. Then lastly, tenement rate. Ogbashi, those ones are started in Ogbashi now. Tenement rate, payment of permits to practice as a medical lab scientist, even when I'm licensure. Imagine local government doing licensure now for medical science. So these levies they are trying to run, if not for the kid, and thank God for the state chairman that is here. He had a battle with the commissioner recently. Many of them will have closed their life, and they come with tongues and they come with policemen. So how do we handle this? How do we harmonize this? Referring to the fact that medical lab was exonerated, why use the word exonerated, or was not part during the COVID and post-COVID. There were certain things that were done for medical lab and other health practitioners not to be included in severe tax payment. I don't know whether Delta State is involved, but I remember General Buhari making sure that the health, because of our hazard and what happened to us, and I think that thing was for a period of 5 years or thereabout, post-COVID. But in Delta State, our taxes just too much. That's just for it. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear friend, my beloved friend. That's a very it's very simple. You see, I keep on telling people, whenever you have a problem, always what? Come together, reason together, how to tackle that problem. But if you allow the problem to just be the problem will eat you off. You see, there was a paper flying all over the states. They are fake work, they are fake tax agents. One day, one of my pastors called me at junior staff. He said somebody came to his house, was asking him to pay for waste disposal. I said, who is that? Tell the person to give you his Oga phone number to confirm whether this person is directly from that office. Immediately called the man. They said there's nothing like that. That's number one. Two, when you have an association, the association come together. The governor is not somebody that you go there will kill you. Come together, harmonize, and tell them, look, this thing that you are doing, the task, you don't accept, you want us to close up. Please tell us how to go about this. This is what we can afford, and this is what we cannot afford. I'm sure the governor has a listening here. He will listen to you, because there was one time when we were trying to do annual returns. I'm sure they exempted what? The laboratories and all the doctors, not to do what? Not to do that. So if you have a union, please gather your union together. Go and meet the governor. Just make a schedule. One day that you want to see the governor, he will listen to you, and we call the people to order, people that are there to order, say, what are you doing to this? But when you don't have facts, and when you don't present your issues, everybody will think that it's normal that you are enjoying it, since you are not crying. You are enjoying it, and you die in silence. So how we advise that your union should what? Meet the governor or meet the chairman, and what? Tell them that this let it be a consolidation, let it be a platform, whatever you need to pay, because I believe that we have a consolidation office whereby people that are paying what they call it water bills, so on and so forth, something like that, they have, of which every year they will tell you the amount to pay. But what they are doing now, I don't understand. They say the new hope. That is what I understand. Beloved, God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I want to take a last question. Please, stay fine.
Good afternoon, members of the high table, honorable colleagues, senior and young lab scientists here present. My name is Christopher Salebe, Chief Medical Laboratory Scientist with Delta State Basin Health Services. The presenter, what I observe is that this tax reform you presented is like a medical laboratory scientist view, but it tailored only on importations, because we spoke on VAT, those on importation of usable disposables and material equipment. So like my colleague had just spoken about those in private. So we need to really have to gather what we need to be reformed, and to let the government know that there should be exemptions if we really want to make progress in providing medical services in the area of diagnosis to the citizens. But then my reason for standing up is to speak to our colleagues in the private parties that there is a task that is very important that we don't need to avert, and that is the corporate tax and the personal income tax. This gives you a lot of advantage. If you are in private parties and you pay your corporate tax, you register the business, you pay a tax with that name. You can easily open a bank account in that name. If you pay a tax, corporate tax and income tax for 3 good years, you get a certificate. This certificate gives you opportunity to ask for business and the contract in government as well as companies to give you job, as a recognized center. So the presenter did not try to emphasize on that area, but I feel that it's important that we should not avert that corporate and personal income tax for those in the private.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you for framing one line. Actually, I was not asked to that area, because I just mentioned the basic, the foundation. Those are the foundation, the advantage. What he just said is just the advantage. Actually, when you want to open a bank account as a private individual, you need all those things to open your what, and if you want to travel out, you need your what, when you pay your tax, pay as you earn, you need your certificate, DCC, your tax certificate. To travel, those are the advantage of which actually I was not asked to speak on that, but he said it's very important. It's true, very important, because I didn't want to take much of your time, and that's why I had to narrow it to this particular area. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, sir. My question, sir. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Sakwe. I run a private laboratory in Asaba here. And with regards to paying our tax, personal income tax for enterprise business like us, we do. In fact, I have my tax clearance. I do that and I have it. I don't joke with that. Now, that brings me to my question, because it's still centered around this my tax clearance issue. Now, the tax concerning, if I want to pay tax now, I'm supposed to pay tax now, there's actually a percentage. I want you to tell us, what percentage, how do I calculate? I paid an amount last year. So there's supposed to be naturally a step up of that amount for the following year, right? So what is the percentage? Because you just go on these tax racketeers all over the place, including BIRO staff. Everybody is a business person in tax office. You cannot come there and say you want to do your legitimate business. No, they will copy you on the way if I want to use that language. Catch you somewhere and they'll tell you this, they'll calculate it for you, and then they tell you to pay service charge. We also need to get that service charge defined. What is the purpose of service charge? Depending on your level of bidding, your service charge can be 10,000, it can be 20, it can be 15, it can be 30. No receipt, no document for it. But without that service charge, nobody does anything for you in Board of Internal Revenue. Sir, please throw light on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Well, nobody compelled you. Nobody compelled you to pay service charge. From when maybe somebody does something for you, from like yesterday, I was in the office. There was a controversy with some people, and this woman came. She met me and began to explain. Moreover, do you know the funniest thing? The boy that is even handed, he was the teacher that taught that boy. He said they gave him what driver's license to do for him. And how many years? No headway. And I said, Madam, come. He brought another money. She has to start all over. And since then, the woman confided in me. When she came, she said she wanted to renew her paper. I did all the analysis. I gave her what she has to pay. After she paid, I did her particulars for her. From her heart, she felt that this person have helped me. She gave me what? She said, this thing, I didn't want to collect it. She said, from my heart, Pastor, I gave you this. I said, God bless you. So nobody, if you go to, you see, we are the one making things difficult for ourselves. Go to the source, go and meet all those people you are seeing, they are town. Some of them are not our staffs. Go to the office and meet the appropriate organ. There are offices they have. If you meet them by the gate, there are so many, even if you go to Onitsha, you see all of them, they are all there too. They are out. Go to the appropriate and meet the organ. Say, where is your organ? I want to see the organ. Then when the organ is telling you to bring money, just say, organ, what is your number? Chat with the director. That person will be queried or sacked. It is we that make it difficult for ourselves by throwing money out of what? But nothing. So that is by design. The one you are talking about, the percentage, we have normal percentage of normally used for tax. And tax, the only thing that is not constant is change. There are some people when they live like me, I'm a last tax. The last tax is overall in Asaba here. We have about 3 of them in Delta State. And we look at some of us, the tax I paid is more than those people that have, like 2 people now that has a pharmacy or one thing now, and you are still working with the government. My tax is more than your own. So when I sit down and begin to look at your income, the profit you make, what you get from that, I will also bring that into the present one that you are collecting, because it's not part of it. And that's what we assess. The people we assess, people we are looking for high network, high network individuals that holds business. Like all these politicians like Ned. Ned is doing so many business. We look at this, the director of this one, so is the director of this one, so we look at the income. What's your profit on this day? What is your profit on this day? What is your profit? We check, we go through Google. Google will give us your data. He give us what you do. And based on what you do, that's what we tax you on. For instance, maybe I want to tax my office tax people more than 1.something, about 20-something million. We look at your business, your profile. When we look at your profile, we look at, okay, this is what you have the event center. You have this hotel. You have this, you have this. We look at them. We give you from A to assess yourself. And most of all these taxpayers, they don't want to assess themselves. So we give us room to want to assess you. And when we assess you, we look at your profile, what you do. And when we look at what you do, for instance, somebody that's getting 1.something, if you divide it by 12, how much you are getting in a month, compared to the civil servants that are paying more higher than you, and you are still arguing that you need to pay what the civil servant is paying. That cannot work. Those are the parameters that we use in doing our assessment. But normal assessment is 7% of 300,000. That is the first one. 7% of 200,000 is 21,000. We look at that. If your income is what is above 300,000, we give you what? We give you 21%. And we give you 21,000. That's 7% of that 300,000. If your income is above 600,000, we use 11%. If your income is above what? 500,000, we use 15%. Yes, now as a business, that's what it's a law. It's a law. It's not just formulated by anybody. It's a law. Go and read the law book. It's there. When your income is about 1.something, 1.6, which is about 366,000, that's you begin to do the analysis. We give you 33,000. What do you call it? 366,000. If it's going higher, the more it goes higher compared to what you are receiving. That is how classes are operated. The higher you receive, the higher. It's supposed not to be less because of your profile, what you are doing. For instance, you have company A, you have company B, you have company C, and the person that is molding block, you want to pay the same rate that the person that has 3 companies in paying one person that has a block. No, civil servant is different. It's all in a flat rate. All civil servant is a flat rate. People that are doing business, those are the ones that do the analysis. People that are doing business, those are the ones that do their analysis. So that is how what tax rate is being operated.
Sorry, please, before you sit down.
Yes, sir.
Now you talk about tax and the rigors of tax. That is application of tax. Now, we are not talking about digital technology. Is it possible to digitalize all of this we are talking? I can be in my office, apply for my tax, I know how much to pay, without coming to your office, without meeting the town at the gates. Is it not possible?
The renew hope, that's what you are looking at. It's government now, it's government. It's more agendas.
So I think we look at it, even some person that have business with the foreign partners. Some of these things is what they apply. There are some establishments, even some places you need to go and update from information. You don't need to go to the office. Just go through the portal, fill what you want to fill, they give you a reply, you pay what you're supposed to pay, they generate your receipt to you your email address, and you print and go and submit and get what you want.
Thank you very
much. So
much.
I think it's a way forward. Today we are talking about digital technology. Please, you should also explore that area of the technology and make things seamless for my people and the general populace.
Thank you, sir. We are doing that. Formerly, we were using hand to write receipt, tax clearance. It's not so. When we use that one, in fact, people are just defrauding government. We are using hand. But now we have changed. Any payment you want to make, go to the bank and pay. The MLO, where we are having issues now, that the government has not actually looked, but I'm sure they are looking at it, which is the renewal of particulars and plate number, because that cannot be paid into bank. Where you come, you give them money and pay before you can process that. I think that's the only thing. But apart from tax, you don't pay individually to anybody. You go to the bank and make your payment, they give you e-receipts. Without your e-receipt, you come back to the office and work and process your tax clearance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your presentation. The renewed hope is already in the license renewal as a passport, international passport. But the last time I filled my passport online, they made me regret ever doing it. You fill online, you pay online, and you go there, they will just cut your neck. Who asked you to fill online? They will tell you to go to Okpana to make a photocopy and come back. And you must make the photocopy in Okpana. Let's not go there. We want to make a brief addition in the program for 5 minutes. We want to please invite MLS Raphael from Sanke to just talk to us for 5 minutes. We have already told him that we will set an alarm clock for him so that he will stick to the 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the dignitaries, the chairman of the occasion, chairman of the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, and dignitaries, Dr. Helen, Professor. Thank you so much for coming from UBTH all the way, to teach us, So thank everyone. I thank everyone, the HODs, all the scientists available. Yes, so my name is Alaza Raphael, Senior Sales Representative for Sanke Biomedical Limited in the South. Okay, so we'll go quickly on our company. We are a win-win company. Sanke Biomedical Limited is an international provider of various specialized high-quality equipment and consumables across Africa. We've been established since August 2019. Okay, over 6 years we've been operating, covering the domestic market as well as across Africa. Of course, our mission is to enhance healthcare accessibility with quality delivery of global brands, best reliability, efficiency, affordability, coupled with exceptional client satisfaction and comprehensive after-sales support. Basically, we are geographically covering every area across Africa, right, with a network of various distributors, you know, from Nigeria, Kenya, and globally, basically, you know, Togo, Ghana, and the likes of it. Basically, we partner with recognized manufacturers, right, like Zonke, BioElab, Conley, Lee Medical, Ambio, and D-Mind. Some of these manufacturers, we know our scientists may be conversant with a lot of them at their laboratories and facilities. We have a swift delivery network. We have an extensive product portfolio. Our product line focuses on IVD laboratory machines and reagents, diagnostics, ultrasound, anesthesia machine, ventilators, patient monitoring and life support, syringe pumps, infusion pumps, all of that under your monitoring and life support, dialysis consumables for your dialysis facilities. Going to our hematology machines, you can see what we have and what we can provide you with. We have 3-part hematology analyzers, 5-part hematology analyzers, and as well as 6-part hematology analyzers. And our major manufacturer is D-Mind, or some persons call it D-Mind. So depending on what pronunciation you're good at. So D-Mind or D-Mind manufacturer is who we partner with for hematology analyzers. And be sure that you can get a robust system with us when you partner with us. We also partner with BioElab to have our franchise, Agile S20 and Agile S30. Okay, so these are good brands that have good throughputs, which is very essential when you're talking about the timing for your patient results. 60 samples per hour, very reliable, double channel counting, which of course D-Mind still gives you. So this basically, Agile S30 basically is for small labs, you know, labs that are just starting. You want, you're looking at affordability as well as good patient results on time. You can have that with our Agile series. Okay, of course, D-Mind, which is a higher end, you know, of hematology analyzers, and this model, D-Mind DH36 hematology, is a very good system you can use. Even works with your laboratory information system in case you need to incorporate data management across board in your facilities, in your laboratory. You can use this machine, okay? Very minimum sample volume. You can use pre-dilute. Of course, has capacity of 50,000 storage. So these are other models under D-Mind, D-Mind DH55, which is your 5-part hematology. You know the differentiation under 5-part hematology. It gives you, instead of your monocyte, lymphocyte, granulocyte, you have your basophils, your eosinophils, your monocytes, you know, and the likes of it, all given to you. You know, of course, it has a good principle, you know, flow cytometry principle, and of course, semiconductor laser scatter, of course, is the principle of these machines. You know, because of time, you know, I can't go through that. So basically, this is another model, D-Mind DH76 5-part hematology analyzer. You know, like the previous speakers spoke about diversification, right? You're talking about lab diversification, right? So if you need something that is much more bigger, you know, efficient, 80 samples per hour for big hospitals, big facilities that have huge sample volume. So quickly going through our competitors, some of which you already have in your labs, all well and good, you know. So we just wanted you to see that how D-Mind is still a leading brand. You know, some of these competitors, they are actually from different other countries, you know, like Sysmex from Japan, and you know, Edan, and you know, the likes of them, right? You have the SFRI, you know, this one being here, you have Mindray, URIT, you know, Horiba, and a whole lot of them, all available. Yes, so let me just quickly, you know, so basically these are the differentiation of what makes us stand out as a brand and as a company. We can see basically most of all the differences you have for the throughput. We may say, okay, it's similar, but when you look at the sample volume, for example, Mindray PC 3600, you can see that our throughput, our sample volume is lesser. You know, that shows you that we have a very good capacity with our DMind products. When you're talking about the top 2 brands in China, you have to mention DMind, you know, as one of those leading brand manufacturers. So I just want to quickly let you see our supply chain. We have an extensive supply chain of reagents. Okay, in case you need your hematology reagents, we have a warehouse in Lagos, and from Lagos we supply across board the domestic market. We have also chemistry analyzers. Okay, just quickly to go through them. If you need a semi-auto analyzer, we do bio-ELAB like I mentioned. If you need a fully automated chemistry analyzer, we can do that for you.
We have to stop you.
Yes.
You're taking 8 minutes, you gave me 5.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So the pamphlets will be shared, I think it has been done. Okay, so quickly, just the dialysis, you know, what you can see for the dialysis supply. We have a good dialysis supply chain. In case you have any dialysis center, you can always contact our company. Our website is sancare-tech.com. Comprehensive after-sales support and engineers working on our systems that have been sent. You know, we had a problem with Asaba Specialist Hospital. Their DMind was down. You know, although we have their distributor, P Divine, okay, that partners with us. You know, so he is currently trying to fix that machine, and he has brought it to our warehouse, office in Lagos. Okay, so we are there for you. We are always active for you. You can always reach out to us. Our address is at the back of the pamphlets.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You can always reach out to us. Without much waste of time, I want to move to the next presentation. Leveraging public-private partnership in deploying digital technology for medical laboratory service by MLS Oyewole Olusegun.
Professor Dlamini Okufe, that was on my mother when I was in Cleveland, took care of me. And the others in profession, Mr. Matthew Taxman, distinguished others in the profession, distinguished colleagues, interns, ladies and gentlemen. I'm privileged to be standing in this edifice to talk to us on leveraging a public-private partnership deploying digital technology in medical laboratory practice. First, let me quickly take us down the storyline. This place, this edifice is named Professor Edozie Chike Edozie, the late Asaba Fasaba, who happened to be my head of department in UCH. He was a clinical biochemist before he became. He did that. While he was there, he did a lot of work to promote the upbringing of medical laboratory scientists. I think he was sitting as head of the department when the first professional exam was done to bring about BMLS of the UCH in 1973. So I think it's not just the mere that we're having today, but we must give honor to whom is due. Yes, talking about leveraging of public-private partnership. We'll go through this outline, we'll go through the introduction, down to the selected references, and I'll be telling us what digital technology, that it is affecting virtually every aspect of our life. And this has been overemphasized since yesterday through the lecture we had from Professor Mapai, even down to this very moment. We can now see, and even the last one we just had from the taxman, we're asking him why can't they adopt the digital technology in their own facet of life. But as it is, statistically, it is believed that nearly 16 billion mobile applications are in operation worldwide. That's to tell us how digital technology, how far it has gone. So we cannot run away from it. It has come to meet us and we're going to face it. But whether to take our job, no. It will rather enhance our job. Digital technology is transforming medical laboratory science. I believe all of us know this. We have said it, that we have been running through manual, even though till now it's still prevailing, but we have not gone down much. But as it is, even from simple microscope to complex one, to simple spectrophotometer, to complex auto-analyzers, it is the work of digital technology. Now, challenges persist in adoption. And what is this challenge? Usually in low and medium industries, we have no, just like what one of our speakers said in the course of this teaching series. And of course, what comes to rescue? We may likely be private partner, public-private partnership that will offer strategic solution. Now, what we are seeing here is a laboratory setting, and I'm sure each one of us would like to be in this kind of setting. You are working here, you press the button, your result could be anywhere. Right in the home of the patient or anywhere where the client will access the result. So the aim of this seminar is to identify opportunities offered by leveraging of PPPs in deploying digital technology in medical laboratory practice. But in the Nigerian healthcare landscape, something is common that we all know. One of the speakers this afternoon talked about resource being limited. That cannot be emphasized. We have limited access to modern diagnostic tools. The last person that came to just advertise his company, if you ask him for the prices of those equipment, I'm sure we will bend our neck. But PPP can answer those questions. Predominantly, manual laboratory system is still ongoing because of resources that are limited. And digital technology adoption has been hampered by the cost. It is not cheap. And so that creates an infrastructure gaps. Then we have to identify the role of this digital technology. As far as medical laboratory practice is concerned, I don't think it's necessary for me again to define what medical laboratory practice means, because we are all professionals here. Now, automation of laboratory processes, that is where it starts from, as I mentioned earlier. The little digital technology we have adopted. The use of laboratory information management system, as all these were emphasized yesterday through Professor Mopai's lecture. And of course, we have talked so much about AI and data analysis for diagnosis. Apart from the diagnosis, we need the data to solve problems. So, and now we can have some instrument with which your data can be analyzed, your control data can be analyzed, your, what is it called? The data you have generated over the years can be analyzed and to give you an information on the direction to do, which can be deployed. And of course, remote diagnosis and the pathology. I am glad that the presenter that talked on resource management of diagnosis made mention of this. Now, what is public-private partnership, PPP? It is not new to us, but we must recognize the fact that it is a long-term collaboration between government or public institutions and private entities. It combines both public oversight with private sector innovation, and it is used in infrastructure, services, and technology. That is all what it's all about. And then continue, the partnerships promote mobilization of financial, technological, and human resources from both public and private sectors. So it is a fusion between the public and private. This private will be profit-making organization or non-profit-making organization in some cases. And it is meant to maximize the available resources for healthcare innovation and better health outcomes. Public-private partnerships in Nigeria, MLP. some of the series we have that we've come in contact involves saving 1 million lives as well with World Bank support. Then we have private diagnostic centers in public hospitals. I'm sure we are quite familiar with all this and the experiences that we share with it. Then we have 54 gym and Nigerian Center for Disease Control, the mobile labs and digital COVID-19 testing. These are organizations that partner with public institutions to achieve a common goal, to make healthcare being accessible and being affordable. For instance, this 54 gene was the backbone of NCDC in combating COVID-19. Then we have President's emergency plans for AIDS relief. That's PEPFAR supported PPS for HIV diagnostics in Nigeria. I'm sure we are all aware of the impact of what it was and what it is now when they are deploying their support. Relevant regulations surrounding PPP. Of course, we cannot undergo or engage in PPP without regulatory framework. And all these laws or regulations are to bear in mind. One, Medical Laboratory Science Council Act of 2003, the Privatization and Commercialization Act of 1999, and Infrastructure Concessions Regulation Commission ICRC Act of 2005, and Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, and Public Procurement Act 2007. All these come into play because before a government institution, the public institutions will go into contract with a private investor, so to say, or NGOs. They will need to look at the various relevant laws that will affect such operation, but sometimes it will be very, very cumbersome and complex. What is the benefit of PPP? Does it have any benefits at all? Improved access to modern technology. In the case where somebody was talking about rural area at that time, in the case where one is in rural area and you need to develop it, one can easily go into PPP, providing modern technology, transmit results to a central laboratory, and keep your data. These are what one can enjoy if one partners with PPP. And as I said earlier, the PPP does not only have to do with telecommunication. It has to do with, you have to do with equipment, equipping the laboratory, bringing about modern technologies that will enhance the service delivery. And of course, it enhances efficiency and reduce turnaround time. It is scalable and sustainable health innovations. It builds capacity building and training for MLS. Successful collaboration promotes business opportunities too. And generally, it promotes client satisfaction. Our major aim, even in QMS, is to achieve what is called client satisfaction in all what we're going to do. So eventually, it has overriding effect to promote the client satisfaction. If you have modern technology to run your asset, you have all what it is to transmit your results, and you can keep your data for surveillance and for other useful things that will be adapted to. Then the PPP can supply you this. The challenges, there's nothing that has advantage that does not have disadvantages. The challenges of PPP in the Nigerian context is one, misalignment of goals between sectors and stakeholders. We all know Nigerian sector, we just talked about the tax issue now. When these goals have been defined, behind the goals there are other interests. For a private sector man, his interest is to make profit and he wants the work to go on. But in the government cycle, the staff wants to go on strike. He wants more salary without much work. There will be areas where they want to cut corners. That if this one is not there, I won't be able to do this. So when you have this misalignment, it can hamper the benefits of the PPP. Data privacy and cybersecurity limitations. We all know what is going on in the data in the technology world. How do we secure data of people that we have gathered and kept online, that anybody can access it? So with cybersecurity limitations, it can be a disadvantage. Sometime I had a friend who, in the course of browsing, entered into one area and secured people's data information concerning their bank details. Not in Nigeria, though. If he had any evil ambition to do whatever I want to do, it will have just caused a problem within the line. So those are the things that has to be addressed so that we can have a smooth running of PPP and take advantage of what PPP can offer for our modern laboratory practice. Regulatory and contractual complexes. I told you about this. You can imagine so many legislations that are in place that you need to study before a public institution and a private institution can actually go into successful PPP. Now, inconsistent power supply and internet services. We are all Nigerians. We know this is a fact. Even if the Aso Rock will now go on solar, leaving me and you on national grid, we know the fate we are facing. Recommendations. We will need to align with PPPs with national. Government will need to align PPPs with national health priorities. We may not pick all at once. We may pick those areas that are concerned. Take, for instance, disease areas, some other areas, pressing areas will be taken as health priority, and we'll start our pilot from there. And then from there, as the speaker that talked about resource limitation talked about, it should be scalable. Can be going from there gradually and improving upon it over time. Then we should ensure transparency and accountability. The private person that wants to join you will want his money to be kept. If he has kept his part of the story, then the public should not take an overriding effect, because the public institution or the government institution would like to seize the money, and we will need to pay as our way according to the agreement. And that is what you see that happen. There's breach of trust, the accountability is no longer there, transparency is no longer there, and so it breaks down. Engage all stakeholders early in the process. Before such memorandum is signed to become a contract, the stakeholders that are involved are supposed to be brought earlier. Let them make their input. What is their fear? What is the gain they are expecting? So let everybody be able to make an input so that when the program starts, it can flow. We have to build strong legal and regulatory frameworks. This is more important. Sometimes you discover that because of engagement of rule of law, certain things cannot be done. One will be helpless. Like I enumerated all the relevant regulations that are connected to this. Now you discover that some of those regulations are so stiff and so strong that it may be difficult for anyone to want to come and do business with you or join you as a partner. So what is done is that most of the time you may need to do advocacy and let them know that this law is too stringent. We need to relax it, and then the government will look into that and relax the law or modify it so that the business can go on. We saw this one in the area of power generation in Nigeria. At the time, it is solely the responsibility of NEPA. NEPA was broken down. It was done to what we had, PEDC and EDC, and now we see that DDC that are all going. Now, we thank God, finally, it has come down to the level that even you, if you have the capacity to generate your power supply, you can generate it and use. But before then, the law that was holding Nigeria cannot allow you to do so. So that is the effect of a regulatory framework. Then we need to train ourselves in digital tools, which is part of what we are doing, and be ready to face the challenge that comes with it by continual training and engaging stakeholders. Then we need to invest in infrastructure, and that makes us to get more to solar. We know we identify power supply, internet supply to some of the things that we meditate in case the advancement of this. But if we invest into this, it can enable us to move further. In conclusion, the successful fusion of digital solution services and public-private partnerships is crucial for the future of social services, health generally, and medical laboratory practice in particular, offering a blueprint for the public entities to effectively engage the complexities of digital initiatives. These are my selected references. I say thank you for your audience.
Thank you very much, Minister Oyewole, for that beautiful presentation. We appreciate it. Before we take a couple of questions, I want to chip in on information. While the previous speaker was talking, I received a message from ISN. We know ISN, a couple of us buy equipment and reagents from them. I received a message from them that if you have a PC 5000 I'm yet to confirm if it applies also to PC10, which I will anyway. If you have a PC10 that to have any faults that is still fully functional and you feel is old for you, they now do a swap Beckman XH520, which is also 5 parts. They said they will do the swap at no additional fee. So if you have a PC5000, the process is ongoing. You can get yourself prepared to do the swap with ISN so that they give you Beckman DXH520 and take your PC5000. That is the information. So please, we want to welcome a couple of questions, 1 or 2, so that we'll move over to the final presentation for the day. Okay. Chief Isiche.
Before I make my contribution, I want to appreciate the presence of the Director, Ministry of Health, Director of Medical Lab Services. I acknowledge your presence here. Mrs. Brisby, you're welcome. Then also our Madam in the board, our Madam Pata, our Director in the board, Hospital Management Board, Mrs. Gloria Zako, you're welcome, ma'am. We acknowledge everyone. Yesterday, I wanted to acknowledge my Oga before he left. The HOD Unidel Medical Lab Department. You know we have Medical Lab Departments. So please, if we see him, tell him I have acknowledged him today. Dr. Isibo. Amen. So now my contribution is this PPP. I have not really seen it succeeding very well in the context that we have in Nigeria. And that is because, you know, when you put public to private, there's always an issue. Right now, even the contributory health program we are running in Delta State, our interaction with private establishments, they are really complaining. And that's because government, the public tend to be high-minded or high-handed in their dealings sometimes. So it's not really working out for a lot of the laboratories who are, I have a friend in Lagos who are a laboratory who we got into with the NHIS, and it's not been a palatable experience. For me, I think we had one in a specialist hospital recently. It's like they cut off the middle class and the lower class in their interaction, and that was why it failed. It failed. I think the present one they are doing has to do with CT scan alone. You know, CT scan, the people that goes there will have money. But for things like malaria, typhoid, whatever, simple tests, and you are charging somebody so high, how can the person access health when we are talking about universal health coverage? So the PPP in Nigeria have not really worked out as far as laboratory collaboration is, because I think the people planning it, or the people, they are not bringing in the stakeholders properly. Recently in Delta State, we had the contributory health program where they just sat down in the office and did their whatever without involving the stakeholders, most especially the laboratory. You understand? You see, those things are always bound to fail. When you are doing a proper, you talked about power, and you know why it's failing? Because government is still running 40% of every distribution company, and as long as government is there, the policies will still be determined by government. So at the end, you stay in the office and government say collect this amount. This is the bill you are going to pay. So I think in essence, for PPP to work well, like some other clients, our Nigerian government, the government, the public arm must bring in consideration with the people they are dealing with, the stakeholders in the field. I cannot go and buy a reagent for 100,000 and you tell me that I should be collecting 50 naira, and at the end I'm not able to get money for my reagent, not to talk of even maintenance of the machine. You get what I'm saying? So that is one thing. They must come down. They also have the consideration of the people in mind. Who are your end users? Who do you want to get this health you know, so that whatever you do, you'll be able to carry everybody along, because at the end, you may end up, you know, not working. Ogara just folded up again. There's suit Ogara. I think there was a PPP going on there. The one in Ash also has folded up. I don't know where it's existing now in Nigeria. So they need to look into it. For me, it's a good idea, because the way you want to partner and try to bring in government help, but because government, the people who are the players in the government, I don't know who they are, whether they are medical lab scientists, really medical lab scientists, they are not bringing a lot of things in question, in picture. Then secondly, I want to talk about partners. Maybe this one is not really in the vibe of what you just said, but I feel it's hard time medical lab scientists start building up scope. Somebody mentioned something, I think, in the discourse one time in one online meeting we had, that we found out that somebody talked about Safari yesterday, and I went through the guys. I had to go to, it's a pharmacist. Okay, so we need to start building up scope to have big time laboratory enterprise. Okay, so that by the time we are looking at NHIS, I went through NHIS, 70-80% of the laboratories who are involved are not owned by medical lab scientists. They are owned by pathologists. One of them is Ecolab. Ecolab, I think Ecolab is a radiologist or a pathologist or something like that. And these guys are the ones running some of these PPPs in our federal institutions and some other places. So we need to scale up. We can have partnership, and this has to come with trust in terms of doing business. Come with trust. My friend who is the owner of DCL told me how he started the DCL, which is one of the biggest importers now in Nigeria. It comes like that. It went to partner with a medical lab scientist who is in China. Are you getting it? So we can come like that and build scope so that we'll be able to handle some of these things that will become more relevant to us, because then we are not speaking as medical lab scientists. We understand what our people want and what the people on the ground also want. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the contributor made his point, but you should realize that all these things were stated where there is no trust, where the stakeholders were not adequately represented and were not carried along. Somebody else is deciding on your behalf. You don't expect such a project to run successfully. That is just it.
We want to move to the final presentation for the day. Quality assurance and accreditation in diagnostic laboratories by Dr. Ufoma Owo.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. I stand on all existing protocol. I'm so delighted to be here this afternoon. I want to especially thank my mother, Professor Mrs. Obefere, the professor of professors, the teachers of teachers. Seeing her here today has revived me a lot, and I'm so confident to speak on some of the great issues she shared with us while we were in training. Today's topic is going to be on quality assurance and accreditation in diagnostic laboratory. It's a topic that cuts across every aspect of our practice, irrespective of our specialty. It's a topic that forms the foundation of any form of result we are going to be giving out. It's a crucial topic, and I want to crave your indulgence to follow me as we journey on this topic for using this outline as stated there. So as a way of introduction, medical laboratory practice has constantly evolved in recent times. We begin to see professionals becoming more passionate about their practice, optimizing processes through the use of innovation and technology, like I've been seeing since yesterday. At the same time, with a lot of capacity building, we begin to see our professionals in every sphere of life, in research, in academics, even in tech. This is because of the way the practice has evolved. On the other flip, we are in an era where we have global health challenges, Yeah, you begin to see stories of whether it's COVID or it's Ebola, we are battling with, or monkeypox, diphtheria. You can continue to name them. Even the chronic diseases, they are not left out. This has continuously made the demand for our medical laboratory services to increase. And this unparalleled progress that we have seen can, in the medical laboratory practice, can only benefit human if the laboratory services are accessible to the users, and if the results that they produce are reliable, reproducible, and timely. No wonder Alison et al. In 2024 stated that when laboratory services are planned meticulously and resources are invested judiciously into the appropriate parts, it's only then it can redefine businesses' approach quality assurance. The concept of quality management system, therefore, with all its core areas, continue to face tremendous challenges. So you begin to see divergent results, a result, only one patient having like 4 different versions of a result. You begin to see a scientist giving out a result, the same result he gave today, by tomorrow the result is changing it. We begin to see a lot of embarrassing situation among our professionals, either because they lack the understanding of the quality assurance, or there's really no implementation in our everyday practice. Hence, the issues around quality management, the issues around quality is a big issue, and till now is the initiative to address quality healthcare among the practitioners has become a global phenomenon. So what is quality assurance? Quality assurance in the laboratory has been defined as the systematic, that is step-by-step, comprehensive, covers everything, way of ensuring that the test we release or the data that is generated in the laboratory are accurate, they are reliable, and they are consistent. It encompasses the different processes, standards, and practices that are designed to ensure that there are no discrepancies, to ensure that there are no errors, to ensure that the results that are sent are the way they are. It is a critical process that covers the entire testing process, from the pre-analytical stage, that is from where you begin to identify what your specimen is, to the testing process itself, the analytical stage, and to the after the testing, the post-analytical stage. So it's a process that covers, that's why we say it is comprehensive. The WHO, in its definition, has been able to define it as a total process whereby the quality of laboratory reports can be guaranteed. And it summarizes it with 6 arrows. Am I getting the correct results? This result, am I getting, is it the right result? Am I getting the right result at the right time, on the right specimen, collected from the right patient, interpreted with the right reference range and reference data, done in the right place? If at any point in time as a professional you want to release the results, take a step back and look at the result you are releasing. Does it tally with these 6 arrows? If it tallies with the 6 arrows, you are good to go. We just brought in this slide. We are not talking about quality system essential today, but we just brought this slide to let us know that quality assurance is a part of the quality system essential. We know there are 12, and quality assurance is under the process control. The quality assurance itself has the major goal. The major goal of the quality assurance is to maintain and improve the quality and the integrity of any laboratory results that is being released. This is usually done through ensuring that the testing is being carried out correctly and quickly, that results are accurate, reliable, and timely, that mistakes are found and corrected in a timely manner even before the results are released. There are 6 different elements of quality assurance. They are as shown on the board: training and competency, the internal and external quality control, the data integrity, document control, equipment calibration and maintenance, standard operating procedure. These are the 6 major elements. And these 6 major elements, They run concurrently in these stages. They run concurrently. This it is an ongoing process that follows through from one stage to the other. And those stages are a continuum. None of the stages should be broken at any point in time for you to be able to have the goal achieved. The goal of having a reliable result, a consistent result, a timely result. Let's not forget. Let's see those stages. It's very important for us to know the stages. Because part of this training focus for this conference is for us to learn, unlearn, and relearn. These are topics that are part of our core training, but somehow we have to remind ourselves again. So these are the major steps of the QA program. The first is to establish a sound quality policy system and planning. Have a sound planning. If you have not planned to succeed, that means you have planned to fail. So no matter no matter how your facility is designed, you must first of all establish a policy, a clear policy statement that's going to guide the policy. And once that has been done, you move to the next stage, which is getting SOPs in place. Don't touch your policy, break it down to the procedures you want to do. And those your procedures, break them down to step by step of how to do them. That will be understandable by all the people that are working in that facility. If you don't have that in place and you are here, then you are actually going to apologize to our lecturers for teaching us because we are not practicing medical lab science. So we are saying that every establishment, every facility that carries out a test must have an SOP for that test. And that SOP is drawn from the policy and the policy statement of the facility, depending on the test. Then that takes us to the next stage, which is training and competency. First and foremost, we must have experts, subject matter experts employed to do the job, who will be trained and retrained, and their competency verified. These are all processes. So you cannot just get anybody to come and work because he has been in the lab, he has been coming to the lab, so he knows how to do it. The QA program did not accept that. So that takes us to the next step, selecting the appropriate equipment. Some people came to show us some equipment now. The QA program is the ability to select appropriate equipment that can be maintained, that can be calibrated, that can be worked with, that are apt for the test. So it's not because you just saw equipment is very fancy, you just go in. There's a selection process that the QA advocate for you to select your equipment. So you see some equipment very beautiful, but after the first use, you cannot get the reagent again. So the equipment are just there in the lab, like a screen. Or you see some other ones, they have small problems, you don't have who to run to have them repaired. Even as we are advocates using of equipment, there must be a selection process which the QA program advocates. So after that, you get to the selection of the methods, the reagents, the method. Those methods, are they going to be offer you the accurate and the precise results? Are they sensitive enough? Are they specific enough? So those are components of the QA program that you should not overlook. Method verification and validation. Then that takes us to generating of the data. Once all these are done, of course, that means you are ready to release results. So data will be generated. Those data that are generated, how are they kept? Can they be retrieved? So if I come looking for records in your different laboratory, you have a structure in place where you can refer me to go and get those documents of 20 years ago or 30 years. What is your retention plan? Those are key elements that the QA program addresses. And once that is done, then we take to the stage of internal audit. Internal audit is an audit conducted by yourself, by your establishment. These things that we have set to work by the QA program, are they really working? So some people even have a quality control officer or a quality officer that come to check. And these people that said they are medical lab scientists, where are their licenses? The control you had yesterday, where is it? This result you released yesterday, how did you release it? Somebody is in charge. If that person is not there to do that, you are already missing out on the QA program, and your results may not be guaranteed. That's what we are saying. So after that, you move to the next stage, which is proficiency testing. Now that you are sure that the results are properly controlled, what else can you do? Because we said it's an ongoing process. We said it's a comprehensive process. So we move to the next stage, which is proficiency testing. compare your results with some other facility. Benchmark your results. So I'm at Asaba Specialist Hospital, I'm getting a PCD of 10. Let this PCD that is this 10, how can a PCD be 10? I send that sample to FMC, help me check this PCB without telling FMC what that result is. What you are doing at that stage is proficiency testing. Ensure that is done. Ensure that program is in place, not a one-off. Have a schedule for it. So not because you had a low PCB, don't mind my example. So that should be a program that I have where I benchmark. I have where I check what I do. And those records are kept. That is only when you meet up with the stages of the QA program. Once that is done, in most cases there could be variation or discrepancies. You quickly institute a process in place to ensure that those are corrected and preventive measures are put in place that those variances don't happen again, they are closed off. Then after that, you are sure, as at that time, a little bit of confidence that the laboratory is being progressed into a very quality controlled environment. So you now go and engage yourself in an external assessor, which we call the regulatory compliance. Are you meeting up with the standard? You call somebody that's an authority, come and check what you are doing. Is it okay? So after that, the person checks it, the person gives you a credence, you go to the next stage, which is identifying risk. In the process of carrying out all this work, is there any area that is going to be risky? So there are a lot of risks that can emerge from our duty. Needle streak injury, for instance, is a risk that we could assess. That is a component of the quality assurance program. And in all of that, the ultimate goal is to see that the patients are satisfied, our customers are satisfied. Our customer in this case could be the patient, the end user of the result, the doctors. So anything that makes a doctor frown at your results, you are not doing a proper quality control assurance program if you don't take it into consideration. So we must at the end of this extreme of all of this activity have the customer satisfaction. Ensure that the customer is satisfied. Then from there, you look for areas to improve whatever you have on ground. That is why we said the process of QA is continuum. And all of this process form the three components of QA, either internal quality control, external assessment, or the total quality management. Next slide. We've talked about it so much, but we just mentioned that quality control is the use of known sample, standard, quality statistical tool to ensure that a testing process is correct. That is just quality control. And this will is just to show us all the components that we take together the quality system. When we talk about when I say the quality of the results, you are actually talking about all these different components. The smallest component is the quality control. The quality control tests that particular test you are carrying out at that time. But the quality assurance is more comprehensive. It tests both the quality control as at that time and all the activities that you put in place to ensure which are the activities have been counting. Then the quality system, it is even a broader test. You look at every other area, the structures and everything you put in place. From the beginning you were constructing the building, you had in mind that this building is going to serve as a laboratory, and as such, you should be able to do the work. That is more comprehensive when you can talk about the quality system. Then when you say total quality management, that is holistic. It takes into consideration every aspect of quality, to the extent from the very gate man that is going to help you drive to go and pick the sample. If the gate man fail, you are having a breach in your quality assurance program. That is why when we say total, it's involving everybody, even to the extent you are looking for areas of improvement. That is what we call total. That takes us to the other aspect of the presentation, the need for accreditation. Then why are we looking for accreditation? A successful QA program is just aimed at you getting your customer satisfied. And to assess whether your customer is satisfied, you will need accreditation. That is just the relationship. And so what is accreditation? Accreditation is take it back, please, just one step. Okay, back again. Okay, this is, no, we are going forward. Okay. It's a process by which an authoritative body gives formal recognition that a body or person is competent to carry out a specific task. So in this case, that your laboratory is competent to carry out a specific task. This body that gives that credence is usually one per country. The authoritative body all over the world, most of the countries have it one per country. In Australia, it is NATO. In United States of America, it's the FDA. In European countries, it's the CE mark. In our Nigeria, it's the MLSCN, Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria. They are the accreditation, they are the accredited body. The good thing is that though there are different countries taking charge of accreditation of their individual members, they use the same accreditation, they use the same standard, which is the ISO 15189. It's the standard that describes the elements that makes the laboratory qualified enough to be accredited. The next slide. So, irrespective of the size of your lab, if your lab is not yet accredited, it is not meeting up to any standard of quality assurance. The results that are coming out for them may not be comparable to standard practice or to best practices. That is what we are saying. So, and let that not scare you, because laboratory accreditation in Nigeria does not mean that you have to have a complete lab system before you are accredited. So that's why we are saying that there are scopes. Depend on your scope. If you are a primary lab, you can call the MLSCN for accrediting your primary lab, or call them for accrediting a specialty. I have only hematology lab I want to accredit. Make sure that that single thing you are doing it well. That the result that can come out from there can match the international standard, which is the standard of the ISO 15189. Or I want to accredit for only some specific tests that I want to accredit. Any of them is welcomed by the Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria as recommended by the standard. So once that happens, you have been able to identify your scope, you be able to go to the next step to fulfill the requirements of accreditation as prescribed by MLSCN in accordance to the standard ISO 15189. Let's see the steps. Yes, these steps are everywhere in our Medical Laboratory Science Council's website. Get your first of all, first thing is to ensure that you are in right standing with the law. Corporate Affairs Commission, you have a registered lab. You make sure that you have scientists that are working there that have correct practicing licenses. If the lab is not owned by scientists, then the scientist in charge must have a partnership agreement with the lab owner, which is supposed to be presented to the MLSCN. Then after that, you pay your prescribed fee. You submit all the documents that make you feel that the lab is accreditable. Documents like your even the structure, the manuals you are using, the SOPs we've talked about, the proficiency testing evidence you have been doing, everything that we have been discussing in terms of QA, you package them together and you submit to the MLSCN. And when MLSCN appreciates that, they deploy to you the standard elements, which is the ISO 15189. And they expect you to read it and marry it with what you have on ground. And after that, because it's a process, like we said, it's a process that will take quality control is comprehensive, as we have said. So after they are sure that you have understood what the elements of the standard are, they will visit you to carry out the accreditation process, which are in 4 stages. The first stage is basic audit. That basic audit is for them to just come to see what you have on ground, to identify areas where you need to improve, areas of gap and variation from the normal standard. Once they identify that, they will communicate to you that is the baseline. Then after that, they have the accreditation stage, accreditation audit stage. So because they gave you a timeline during the basic, they will come back to come and check whether that timeline has been achieved. So when they come and they see that everything is ordered, they will go back again. The third stage, which is the accreditation process itself, when they come, that one they don't need to come and tell you they are coming, because already they have tutored you and carried you along all this while. So by the time they come back that third time, that is the accreditation step. Who are the take coming? MLSCN have a team that they will send, usually minimum of 3 persons, the accreditor himself, the chairman of the board, and the secretary. They can be more than that, depending on the situation. So by the time they come that third accreditation time, you meet up to every other condition, they go back, and the final stage is communicating their report, which we said, let's see that slide. The report can be, accreditation is granted, or in some cases suspended, some cases withdrawn, some cases reduction of the accreditation scope, depending on your findings. But whatever it is, if it is accredited, the accreditation runs for 2 years cycle. At the end of 2 years cycle, the accreditation is no longer tenable. You now have to reapply, because they are not sure whether you are still acting Hollywood or you have come back, whether you are still keeping proficiency testing. They are no longer sure, so they need to come and verify. That is why there will be a re-accreditation every year, which happens everywhere, not only MLSCN. Everybody that does accreditation, there is a time frame, usually not too long, so that there can be some checks and balance. So, what are we saying? In essence, all of these beautiful things we are saying, a lot of us have not taken advantage of it and subjected ourselves to having our labs, whether small, big, accredited. Maybe probably because we don't engage, we don't have a good quality assurance program in place. When the quality assurance program have even moved beyond the normal stage, people are now looking at quality assurance program in the future. They will have started integrating AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning into the QA program for smarter testing. People have started applying the shift left testing that involve moving the quality checks earlier in the development process. There is also a lot of involving automation that can now take advantage of simpler and flexible menu, like the no-code, low-code, and all other scriptless automation process. People are focusing more on cyber security and data quality for upscaling user experience and accessibility. So what we have been saying in essence, all this while, is that a successful QA program is a prerequisite for any laboratory accreditation. And we're also saying that will define any professional's commitment to safety and to quality. We're also saying that accreditation is an important milestone in the path of continuous quality improvement and has proved to be a useful tool in strengthening laboratory quality system. By embracing these concepts we have been talking about, laboratories can now streamline their processes, gain deeper quality insights, and ultimately the goal for which we are working, which is to satisfy our customers, will be evident. Hence, quality assurance remain the need, the challenge, and the future for any successful laboratory in Delta State in particular and in Nigeria as a whole. I thank you as I leave between the final quote from William A. Foster, which says, and I quote, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives." Thank you so much for your time. Those are my references. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation.
Yes.
And I want to do one small amicable. The Director of Medical Laboratory Services here in our midst, Mrs. Prisibe, she chipped in something into my ear privately. I want to make it public with her permission. I was asking her why private laboratories here in Delta State do not benefit from provisions that are made public. For example, you go to government hospitals, you see NGOs, you see other facilitators come equip their laboratory for testing such as CD4 counting. You see TB gene experts. They will give them beautiful microscopes and the like. Some they give them inverters. I say, why is it that we don't benefit from things like that in this neighborhood? The first thing she mentioned is ISO accreditation. There does not seem to be labs in Delta State that are ISO accredited. And I was trying to see if there could be a possibility for me to meet up, invest in self and about market. Okay, how big is your lab? You know, there needs to be space. For you to have space, you need to build the place yourself. For you to build the place yourself, you need the money that normal human being cannot have.
Normal human being can have.
So how we want to do it?
Normal human being can have.
Okay, now imagine a situation there is no benefactor. Now you just get off the university. Interns now, let's assume as an intern you receive, let's say 200,000 naira. 200,000 naira for 12 months is going to be 2.4 million naira. The village where I practice is Ugeli. If you want to point a finger at any place, for example, all those neighbors of Afisiri Road, say you want to buy a property, then you always just call everywhere. Land in a place you can run a laboratory, they run into millions, big millions, because that thing you are offering, somebody wanted to buy a place for 17 million. All arrangements have been concluded. Somebody came from nowhere and offers 20. So if it is possible, we can have these accreditations. I think it will benefit us plenty. So we want to entertain a couple of questions from the audience. Questions on the last presentation. Okay.
My own colleagues, from the what you have just had is a simple question, and because we are here to retrieve and to train, that's why this question is coming. Our presenter told us that we need to do quality assurance, you know, and it struck me, especially the use example PCB checking your results and have documentation. I announced that this should be done and you document them. For instance, you see a troubleshooting in blood group. Sometimes you see that the reagent has expired and you don't know. Then you group and get that result. And this patient will go to another place and group it and get another result. And so then it will dawn on you that this reagent has been overstored. So for us to stop this, I want our presenter to tell us how often can we do these checkings. How often do we do it? Because forget about the reagent. It may not expire. It's not expired. But storage. That's what I'm telling you. You may not know. It has not expired, but poorly stored. But when do you know how this troubleshooting? How do you stop this troubleshooting? That is by knowing, by us here in this conference, trying to tell ourselves how often we should do this checkup.
Thank you very much, sir. So I want to conclude what I started. So right now, that majority of private laboratories are very small in size. Is there no way that such small places can meet up with ISO accreditation?
Thank God that my very senior colleagues are here. I'm seeing that our director, I'm seeing her, my well done. I wanted to call her the way you used to call her in school, so I remember she's the director. So anything I want to say now, I have backings, that's what I'm trying to say. We want to tell ourselves the truth. We are the ambassadors of medical laboratory scientists in Delta State right now. By the virtue of the fact that we are the ones in this conference, let us take this message very clear. We are not doing well. The organizers of this program, I want to say thank you. MLS, Honor, thank you so much for bringing up this topic. We are not doing well as practitioners. We are looking at something on far when the one that is very near, we have not done it. You need to see some laboratories. They will be wondering, What are we doing? Did we really get this training because we wanted money or because we wanted to impact our generation and our society and have a calling? We are not doing well. So that is why every time I started this discussion, everywhere I have presented this presentation to colleagues, I've always emphasized that this is the call of our training. QA. It's a program that before you start a lab, you plan to fail or you plan to succeed. I want to start answering the question from his perspective. You know, I was talking to us about accreditation by the accreditation body that is recognized in each country. So how many laboratories are accredited by the council? Let us start from there. You want to jump to ISO. When you are not accredited by your body, are you understanding me? Your body is not asking you for a big building. The Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria is not asking you for a big building. It's asking you for quality. The standard elements, they are there if you go to their website. So let us first of all get it right. Let us begin from primary one, because before we begin to assess a degree and PhD, that's what I will answer, how we answer the first one. Every laboratory owner, if it is the hematology you want to accredit it. Let the council know that I have in your council website, let you be listed as one of the laboratories that offer hematology. And when they come there at any point in time, let them see the standard element of ISO in your laboratory. We start from there. The data says we are not doing well. Dr. Pini Natanya, you know how many times I've called you when we see some funny results? Funny results. You'll be wondering, these people, are they practicing this medical lab science? If this is only what we take back, let us go back and put our houses in place as regards quality assurance. You see, the list was endless. It was a comprehensive list, from selection of the method to selection of the equipment to selection of the reagent you are going to be using. How will your reagent expire? You don't know. Excuse me. What is the first aspect of your presentation? I was with Professor Jemi Karaja. We were supposed to be conducting an examination, and a problem came and they called him to come and solve it. A doctor that knew him very well. Blood group was grouped by a scientist and did cross-match and get issue at the blood. They started transfusion. The person that they were being transfused was obviously different APO. Cannot remember the exact situation. But the transfusion reaction was so massive that they had to rush the person to another hospital. That was when they discovered that it was completely APO. The colleague said it was because of the reagents. What kind of story? And most of these people are people that are 15 years in practice, 20 years in practice. Because of what? Reagent is not doing well. Detect it from right before you started the test. You have to plan according to what those steps are, not to fail. That is how we answer that part of the question. The part of the question by my very colleague, my classmate colleague, is how often. So those are defined in your policy statements. So if you can define it in your policy statement and demonstrate it in your action, you are okay. So define it according to your scope. Quality assurance program does not put stress on you. You are the one that will define what you want to do by yourself. And once you have defined it, be consistent in doing it. So if you're going to define, for instance, every quarterly, I'm going to be engaging in quality assurance, quality proficiency testing. You have captured it in your policy statements. You have narrowed it into your SOP. These are the things that ISO is coming to watch out for. In this case, like I told you, MLSCN will come and watch out for first. So if you have defined in your policy statement that I'm going to be doing it every quarter, because that's where your power carry you. So we have seen quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 1 year, 2024. When MLSCN come, they should see 4 results. Dr. Henry, am I not talking the truth? They should see 4 results. There, showing that you are following what your policy statement captured. That is only what it takes. So it's you that will define it. You cannot afford quarterly. 2 times a year, I engage in policy. Where do I do it? I do it with a benchmark, with a lab that runs the same method with me. What is the lab name? You put the name there. Captured in your policy and your SOP. Reflected. presenting assessors come. So where is your documentation of proficiency testing receipt? This is 2025. So have you done January? They see January. What is the result? What is your result? They must not be correct, sure you know. So maybe your PCV was 15 and that person was 10. So what did you do? How did you correct it? Are you documenting it there? Just to make sure that the results you are giving them and you are checking them. I don't know if I've answered.
Thank you very much.
The chairman, sir.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There's something she just said that we can talk. You want to leave us? Thank you so much for coming. We sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much. Our taskmaster will contact you.
Yes.
So I think we can start from somewhere. That is the important line for us. We have about 3 senatorial districts in Delta State. Can Asaba, Delta North Zone, have a quality control program for scientists? We can do this. Yes, of course. We can set up a committee from each of the senatorial districts to look at this matter. FMC can generate a panel sample and send to specialist institute. Then locally, the boson, add up. All the sample will be sent to all these places. Then the committee will get the result and review. We can start from there. This we can visit these hospitals. We can generate some fun among ourselves. This hospital, this centralists can generate some funds for them to visit some of these hospitals and look at the type of equipment that we use. I remember I had the opportunity to work with Share then as a local staff. And samples come from South Africa. When there was a time, Chevron, NNPC, Shell, and sent us to worry. We were doing that. I will come back and look at the result. Yes, we can remember that. In Worry chapter, branch, so chapter. We can do that. So what he's saying now, we don't need to go too far to ask for help or for accreditation. We can let us do something internally. Now, like he said, we even have one standard, what's it called, 5-star, 2-star, 1-star. I think there was a time. FMC got to some level. I don't know whether it's being sustained or second way. So let those in Delta Central do the same thing. Those in Delta South, I think St. Hospital Worry, Chevron and NPC are the majority of Delta South now, and some other government hospitals. So please, we can start from somewhere. We can have a review of a time where we can, all the committees in this entire district need to meet and look out for this. In that way, if your reagent is bad, you will know. Like you said, it's very sad when I went to a place I saw somebody and say it can still be used now.
6 months grace.
Sample management is a big problem. There were samples the colleague sent to me. If I open that sample in this one of us to go outside. And when I said I'm not going to use it, I'm going to discard it, the person said, just manage it now. Is that what we are for? You can't make money in the crooked way and expect to get the right thing. It's not possible. That's why somebody said, I said, wait, I'm not going to discard it. Let the result come. I want to do it. Let me show you the result. I said, if you had to have this result for yourself, you will possibly commit suicide the next day. Because it's in disarray. So, give in Asaba, give in Delta Central, where is location is not here, and they give Delta States. Please, we want to do something. Right? There's always a time for us to do something new. That is why we are talking about digital technology. Please, in your capacity, constitute this group. Those in private and public, let us have evidence. We can start from there. So that when the sample comes to your laboratory, when the committee sit with you and let you know that this sample result is not correct, this sample is correct, but sample collection process, pre-analytical stage first, before we go to analytical stage and post-analytical stage. When it's presented before you, you will know that you need to do something better. Please, I just want to make this clear so that all of us can go hands together and make sure that this we can do better in this regard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
So briefly, let me lend a voice to this. We are here to learn, unlearn, relearn, and learn again. What makes us relevant as medical lab scientists is the quality of our result. If the quality of result is faulty, you are at a great disadvantage in the health industry to be seriously criticized. It is not INEC election. We are talking about the lives of people. One single mistake that the book did not align well. It was supposed to be negative, positive. To just rubbish your facility. This is a very, very serious issue. You should not just sweep it under the carpet. One, why must you open a lab alone? Can 2 or 3, 4 professionals not? Can you not come together and open a standard place and it's accredited? That I can make records to that place. It's possible. But we don't want to go to one room, the market is for, access the lab. How will you gain your respect? See, when it comes to quality assurance, it is not negotiable. It is not negotiable. Because even if the driver will run into a bush and kill 15 persons, one single result, you can kill the whole community. The man said the same result is now, they said is HIV positive. The news went around the community. It's a prominent chief. And somebody came the following day, sorry, they would detect the reagent we used yesterday, we didn't know it was expired. What type of rubbish? What are you saying?
Where the people have died.
What are you saying? So please, when we go back, beyond these regional things, let's put our house in order. Because your work, your quality is premised upon the result you generate. If you generate results that are not clinically significant, nobody will reckon with you. Beyond whatever name or whatever qualification you have, it's a serious issue. In case of quality control, why must you start work in the morning? There's no control. There's no control. If you come as a separate person on call, you must draw your control because the person in the morning may have used a different pattern. Then note your daily controls before you start work for the day. Most people don't do that. When you just come, they want to be your observer. You continue from there. We don't work like that. Let us change the way we do things. That is the essence of this training and this seminar. Thank you.
Okay, I want to speak
based on as the chairman of the committee for the task force in Delta State. What some of us have seen, somehow we started something here because, the MC mentioned just a startup, little startup. How do you get the money? You are being paid little. I don't think the council allows, I just wanted to know, I think there's a particular year. The council doesn't allow a scientist to just come out of school and open a lab. Yes, you must have worked, you must have gained experience. 5 years, good. Now, but we are seeing people who just finished school. In fact, where is the task force, key task force in Asaba here? Where is Levi? Levi is not here. We got someone on site that is waiting to do his internship, and because AAU, Abu Sali, they are having issues. So the 1 year he has stayed at home is becoming too much, so he opened a lab. Yes. When the council came to Asaba, we even met somebody who had not even finished school. Just because she put to bed and had issues in Oka, she opened a lab and she claimed to. So now those are the foundation. You are supposed to have experience. And that is why immediately we got that result, I knew the person was supposed to have a medical. I said, look at what you wrote. This is your winner result. Now look at, read it now. Is this how a medical lab scientist report with that result? So ultimately, young man, you are not to close the lab. So now, one of the things I want to say is we must start from the elementary, like you mentioned. We don't run. When council came, I remember, may she rest in peace. Tosa will tell you, Professor Tosa will say, look, we don't want too much. You can say, this is what I am doing. They graded it A, B, and C. And A is supposed to be elementary. Register elementary. We want so that we know that by the time we release big result from this elementary, we know you are already doing quackery. Because this is not what you are supposed to do. That is how you start little by little. Are you getting me? Then they have given you specification, at least a room and parlor. 2 rooms. But you must have a toilet. Because people must ease themselves, they must use the analysis. You know, simple. Now the truth of the matter is that I have watched people open business when they are trained, maybe on the Chapipa and the rest. Before they go back to open, they get money. What we have done in Asaba, I can tell you the task force of the kid here is very, very strong. Very strong. The analysis I have in Warri, by the time we come to Warri, it's going to be Warri Abraka is the worst. We've gotten a lot of results. We send people to get results. You understand? In fact, some of our colleagues, to be very kind, there was one I had confrontation with, employing people who are not medical lab scientists. Seriously, a bad omen. One of them had about 4 LCLTs working in the lab, all because of cheap labor. Because he doesn't want to pay scientists. Say, this one I see people, yeah, demanding for so much money. But you are making much money. Okay? So, let's start from the elementary. Please, your lab. When someone enters your lab, let the person have that hype that they have entered into a facility of a graduate, first and foremost. Somebody who is refined. When we enter a quack lab, we also know there is a quack lab. That's one who came recently. When we enter the lab, I just told Victor, even if you say it's a medical lab scientist, just close this place. Let the person come and tell us it's a medical, because that place was smelling from the corridor. So they don't even say, close, let's close it, we close it, we go with police. For those of us who don't know, the Commissioner of Police sanctions our movement here for Anocho Shindley. We have letters, so we go, we get police, we move. So if you want one who don't do some head, there's a pharmacy around here, up to here, that was running lab. Boldly, the guy put it, he said he do on the spot testing. That's what he said. We arrested him. And with Dr. Collins was here. He paid through his nose to get out from the prison. So we don't allow that. So Asaba, on their own, the kid in Asaba, on their own, decided to do what we call deforestation. And you get to be first and foremost. And in their meeting, like they're having a meeting on Sunday, they've invited some of the presenters here. That's how good the kid is here. On their own, they do their own isolation. They do their own tempting and stuff. So I want to encourage, like Dr. Bini said, GID has a lot to do because this is where it is. We know that some public spaces too need upgrade. To be very candid, some of our public hospitals, they are not even as good as private hospitals. If they cancel to enter a lot of our public hospitals there, they will close it. They don't, some of them cannot even merit being a lab in Delta State. So we have a lot to do, but we must start from the basis, and the basis is ensuring that those little things we need to do are done. But essentially, you see those people in Africa as this, please, if there are kids, they have told the chairman the other time, I said, want to have, I think that's what we're going to do now, because once I get the clarification for the present commissioner, the task force will now become a statewide thing. Meaning that the letter from the commissioner, yes, police can prosecute. For those of us who don't know, let us know now. Because the barrister in charge of prosecution said that our thing is not a civil matter. Know it now. Anything with lab and medicine is life and it's criminal. You remember what happened in Lagos when that guy was caught with blood? That guy is having JTM that claimed that he was a medical lab scientist, only for us to discover that he didn't even, he said he lacked a lab in one hospital. Then they left lab for one hospital. He is cooling off now somewhere because the blood he transfused, he gave out, has killed somebody. So that's how. Then for some of us who say they cover lab, there's one now, he's been begging. He's covering 3 labs in Asaba. Yes, 3 labs. He said they cover, in they do shifts. He covers this place from here to here, and he covers here from here to here. Lab scientists, so there's not these are young scientists. They are covering lab. And eventually for him, the time he didn't cover that particular lab, that was when they released the results signed by the technician who owns the lab that is now incriminating him. But who is the who gave the license for the lab? The scientist. You are the one that will go to court, not the person you are signing for. So why are you covering when you are not there? Technicians are not supposed to sign results, but you are giving your license to a technician or assistant, and the person is signing results on your behalf. Your own is just to come in here and not give me money, but the money now want to put you in trouble. Because the person who died, who is in trouble, is a barrister. And the families are about 3 of them are barristers. So this elementary system must be there. GID, chairman GID, we need a lot. So once we get that from the commissioner of police, which will not cover the whole state, the whole state, we will send letters to certify, like I know that ASE now, for one, is Ureli. So that Ureli area, we'll have 1 or 2 trusted persons that will help us comb the area to know about labs there. If possible, send for tests. What we do here is we send somebody for tests. If you know any pharmacy that run tests, send the person for tests. All you do, get a result and a receipt. That's all. That's all the police need. Then you will not tell them where you went to school to qualify to sign results or issue results. You know this on the spot care they say they do. It is when you sign. Like Opti Health pharmacy, he say I'm doing on the spot malaria test. When I say good, that malaria test is given to you to run at home, not for commercial. The minute you sign it and say somebody has malaria, you are already a medical lab scientist. You no longer a pharmacist. That's all. That's law. Because the prosecutor will tell you in police that the syringe given to a medical lab scientist is not to inoculate or not to inject somebody with the bomb. If they see you use that syringe, you are already become what? A doctor or a nurse. So you'll be probed. That syringe was given to you to take blood. So when the time comes, we will reach out to us. But what we are begging is this, because we are having scientists now having issues with police, and it's disturbing. Because you see your colleague sometimes with handcuffs. It's disturbing that our colleagues are the ones perpetuating these things, all because of money. So please, we'll start from the elementary. So when the time comes, thank God the chairman has mentioned some other things, and Dr. Henry, when the time comes, we'll decentralize properly. But for the quality assurance thing he talked about, is very, very essential. I think maybe the chairman will do more. Maybe we'll have, before this conference will go out, maybe we'll have a committee on very important persons who can gather and get it done to help each and every one. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I think from all education, we know ourselves very well. If you know you are from Warrior Houses, you know yourself. When we say nominate, you know the nominate. Not nominate person when the person that you know does not have a lab. Even when he enters an office, he does not have a lab. So that otherwise we will corrupt those who has a lab and are doing very good. So Madam Philomena, the Director General of Life Path Diagnostic Laboratory, please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, senior colleagues and interns present. My name is Philomena. I have, I will call it a dilemma. Why I came for this program? My niece is presently pregnant. She had had a baby. So she went to, she's in Edo State. So she went to the clinic for normal checkup. So she sent me the results while I was in this program. She had had a baby, they did blood group for her, they did the normal pregnancy testing and installed. So the blood group she had when she had her first baby was O positive. That's what they gave to her. And she did this thing in the government hospital, Edo State Specialty Hospital to be precise. So she went there while I was here for the second pregnancy. She's almost due. So they did the same routine test for her, and they now told her she's O negative. She now sent me the results. So I was kind of confused. And I said, but they said you were O positive. How come you're now O negative from the same hospital, and it's a government hospital? So I said, okay, go to another lab that you know is good there to do the test. She went there and they said she's O negative. And I said, okay, go back to the government hospital and show them the two results they've given you. So when she got to the government hospital, she met the senior scientist, and that one took the test upon herself to do the test for her. And that one did it, it was O positive. So now I'm confused. So, so I don't even know, because I was like, okay, and two results from the same hospital, now it's positive. So I don't even know which one she is. You understand? So you know, normally Rogan and all those, so I don't even know. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll have, when I come go back, maybe she has to come to Mori, I don't know. So, but this is from a government hospital. So I don't know. I don't know how you can help me. That's why I said let me speak out.
Thank you very much. See,
she has never taken blood once. She has never been transfused once. So it's not as if maybe transfusion.
Now let's see what she raised now is very, very vital. You see, charity begins at home. Now look at yourself as a scientist, for instance. What can you produce? Ask yourself. What can you produce as a lab scientist yourself? Just to examine yourself. What can come out of me in my practice? That's exactly what you just raised. Because for you to run a test, you must have put everything in place. Because currently, you enter most labs, you don't have positive and negative control. I went to the lab, I was asked to supply anti-serum. I brought anti-A and B, the scientist said he doesn't need it. Anti-A-B.
Yes. Okay.
I brought anti-A-B. He said he doesn't need it. One day he sent a sample to us in Wari. I said, go and meet Asuka. That is not too sure whether the person is AB positive or A positive. So, Asuka finished and I said, the person is AB positive. I said, Asuka, wait, don't give results yet. We took another person to go and repeat that test. When I meet Dr. Kwame, I said, give me another reagent, a new one. Go and let you go and do this. The person came out with AB positive. Now be good. If she has that anti-AB, so some of us, you look at some of us want to economize money. Right? Let me just instead of spending another, how much is anti-serum? They were saying that. It's more than that. So when you now come about and say, I'm still ready to spend like 2,000 naira to pay another one, okay, let me just leave it like that. So that's why I said, just, you as a scientist, just look at yourself, what matters of me when you are in the bench. So that's what matters much. There's a colleague of ours, she was asked to examine semen analysis. When he saw the semen sample, filled with epithelial cells, he was surprised. Right? You have been working on bench, but you have never seen semen analysis, semen sample having a lot of epithelial cells. So he didn't stop there. He called the owner of the hospital to say, this man, how well is it to you? The nurse says, for one of the companies. I want to send this sample for cytology in Benin. And they sent it to cytology, and the person, that was a case of septal cancer found in that patient. Because, I don't know, how many of us are practiced here? Those of us that read histology, there's one particular cells you see, and you're actually talking about not the normal squamous cell you see. But this one is not as if it's small, it was everywhere. So there are a lot you can do on the bench. So when you see some things, don't close your mouth. I think it was our hospital we came about this malaria parasite. What is the other one that starts with Emo? Malaria. It was all the solo car. Who was with us? He brought it out because he had attended malaria training. And that was the first time for us to see malaria in Warri. So the thing is simple. It's not all about, some private lab, some of us because of money, let me use that word, yes. We don't want to go detail when we see something test in some patient. Don't forget, if you see something strange in the patient and you report it, and the patient gets better, the patient will never forget you. My first time to see the dollar in Nigeria, $100, years back I was in private, was part of what I saw in the patient and I reported it. When the doctor called him and said, this is what we have, we called the Halliburton staff back then. The man went to the US, and it was confirmed. Well, that was even the man to give me $100 for my first time to see dollar. So please, when you go back to your facility, a lot has been said in this program. Let us see how we can implement it. Let us, those that didn't come, make them feel that it means something. So next time, maybe those of you who are heads of department, Morgan, we have to release more people. We have to be changing them now. You will attend this year, you will attend the other one group will attend next year, so that knowledge can now be spread out. So, on this note, we want to call on Isichi, the treasurer of the state, to give us a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm really glad today to express gratitude to all our facilitators, and most especially for those of us who came. You know, when I walked in here, though we are having physical verification exercise at the government house, so I didn't come in time. When I came in, I saw that I couldn't get a seat. I was happy not getting a seat. I want to appreciate you all, especially our younger ones who are making this thing a task. I also want to thank our major who just left, one of the oldest medical lab scientists we have in the state. Seeing him also give me joy, and our Oga here. So in a nutshell, I appreciate you all. Tomorrow is another day. I pray that God will have good sleep tonight and good dreams concerning this profession. I pray that God will give us ideas on how to solve vital disease conditions in Nigeria, so that people will know that we've really come on board. Let's stand up for prayers. In Jesus' name. Amen. Our Lord and our Savior, I want to appreciate you for this awesome day that you made possible once again. I want to thank you for our chairman. I want to thank you for the entire school. I want to thank you for the organizing chairman and his team. Thank you for the facilitators who have used today. Thank you for every one of us who have listened. Father, Lord, this is the beginning of good things for Medical Lab. Our Lord, our God, our expectations will never be cut short. We pray, oh Lord, my God, even as we go back to our resting places, that you grant us sound sleep, good dreams. Give us a relaxed mind, oh God, to peruse everything that was said today. And tomorrow bring us back to listen more and to add more. Because for you, you said that knowledge is the key. And for all our getting, we should get understanding. Our Father, we give you glory. To you be all glory, God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. For in Jesus' wonderful name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. The venue. Same place. This place we are using here. The same time, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. That's all things very important. My brother, take